Did she say what kind of animal it was that attacked her?
So yeah, they're saying it's some type of animal attack. Statistically, there's been more animal attacks, mysterious deaths, people gone missing.
In other news, local authorities remain perplexed by the animal attacks.
What attacked you in the woods?
An animal. What else could it have been?
Welcome to It Was an Animal Attack, home of the supernatural drama series. I'm Fadzai.
And I'm Sandile.
And today we will be continuing and concluding our journey with the Mikaelson siblings, that messy-ass family.
Let's go originals.
Season 4 has a lot of interesting moments, but overall it's like, yeah, you can see that they had overstayed their welcome.
Mm-hmm.
It was like, you need to go.
It really, like, I look back on season 4 generally as being such a middle of the road season, and none of the fun, memorable bits about the season, maybe not none, most of the fun, memorable bits of the season have nothing to do with the originals for me. So that's that, I guess.
It's a pity because I think this is the season in which Claire Holt is a main. I might be wrong. I think she was elevated to series regular.
Yeah.
And actually, by the end of the series, she's more of a mainstay than Klaus.
Oh, yeah.
But she slowly becomes, the character Rebecca, she slowly just becomes so much extra baggage to the story. It's nice to see her play off characters, but it's like, yeah, in the way that it was nice to get scenes with Meredith Fell and Sheriff Forbes and Carol Lockwood.
And imagine that comparison. Rebecca Mikaelson and Meredith Fell. No shade to Miss Fell. You know we love her in this house, but god damn.
And Rebecca has a season where she metamorphosizes so much in this final season. She starts off just like, I'm the girl who did it. I finally did what none of y'all could do. I killed Elena Gilbert. She's a vampire now, so whatever. But I murdered her, and I'm not sorry. I'm so happy about this. And honestly, I've kind of buried the hatchet at this point. Like, I got my revenge. I'm cool. And then a series of betrayals turns her back into middle of season 3 Rebecca, who hates Elena's guts and lives to see her suffer.
And I can picture the exact episode that happens, and I remember thinking, how are we still here? I remember thinking, you've killed her. Okay, great. You face no repercussions for that from any of the people who would hate to see that girl dead. And now she's a vampire. Okay, she's got no guff. You still want her. Like, how are we still here? Why, frankly, are you still at school after all of this?
She cycles back through so many of her old settings, and I'm like, there's no growth for this character. There's one thing she does that I'll get to in a moment that's new for her, and that, frankly, I can understand the appeal, but I'm like, I'm tired of this trope in vampire fiction, but we'll get to that in a second. She cycles through, okay, I'm back to hating Elena and wanting to see her suffer. Then it's also, I'm kind of vibing with Stefan again, and there's a connection there because of our history. Then the one new thing, which is, okay, I want the cure so that I can be a human and live this lovely human life and get married and have babies and grow old. Which, why is it always female vampires that want that? It's never a male vampire saying, I want to have kids and grow old with the person I love. Like, Damon does that for Elena because he loves her at the end of the series, but it's not because it's something he truly, truly dreams of. It's giving Rosalie from Twilight. And
I will say in this show, Rick is the one guy who's like, I actually hate being a vampire. And I am in a time where I think there's no way around this. And the moment he is unvampired, he's chuffed as cheese. So there's one, I guess.
But with Rick, it feels as though Rick always hated vampires.
Yes.
So it made sense that he was never going to like being this, like, Rebecca loves being a vampire.
Right.
She's really good at it. And then all of a sudden it's like, no, but I hate it because apparently my inability to find true love and lasting happiness is because
directly
I'm
linked
immortal.
to my vampirism, which is like, what? No, you're absolutely right. That is very different from someone who had never enjoyed being a vampire. And in fact was made a vampire in a state of being that wasn't his own. Like, he was turned into a vampire when he was Killer Rick. So, you know. Ugh.
And then Rebecca's final setting by the end of the season is, okay, now I'm back to being obsessed with Matt. And I'm like,
oh, God, I forgot.
girl!
It goes back to Matt at the end of this. We have to for the threesome to happen, right?
Yes, we do. The threesome happens at the start of season 5, which by then the Mikaelsons are so irrelevant.
Yeah. God, I forgot.
I'm just like, Bex. Bex, I want so much more for you. So at the start of this of the season, in Growing Pains, there's a lot going on. Klaus is in Tyler's body. They hand wave that he somehow can get back to his body because it didn't physically burn up, so he can still get inside it. And he's like, Bonnie, put me back in my body. And Bonnie's like, no, I have to help Elena right now and find the loophole for her vampirism. Which is like, girl, I don't think. Rebecca at this point is still under the impression that Klaus is dead and gone. She's like, my brother's gone. I'm sad. She's like looking mournfully over Klaus's drawings and his art. And she's like, oh, boo-hoo. Damon comes in. He's having the worst day because he can't even be happy that Elena's going to be a vampire because she's not happy about it.
Yeah, that's
so he's like,
reason.
Cool. White oak steak. I'm going to murder Rebecca for killing her.
Okay, we all have plans today. We all have goals.
They had the Yule back and forth. He's like, he comes in and she's like, oh, you know better than to sneak up on a lady. And he's like, good advice. Have you seen one?
Okay.
Then,
We're back.
Considering where she ends up, it's interesting that she shades Matt in this scene as well. She's like, tragic about Elena, not to make a grey cloud grayer, but does Matt even have automobile insurance? And I'm like, oh, let's remember this moment, Rebecca. Let's remember this. But anyway, Damon doesn't manage to kill her because they're interrupted by the town council, now led by Pastor Young.
I don't think that's the reason he doesn't manage to kill her, but sure.
Okay, she's strong, and he doesn't manage to overpower her. And then before the altercation can continue, Rebecca gets snatched and Damon gets away. On the other side of town, Klaus Tyler gets a phone call from his mom who's like, oh, Tyler, thank goodness you're okay. I didn't even know that you supposedly died at the end of last season, so I'm not checking up on you to make sure you're not dead. I'm just like making sure you're not snatched because Caroline Forbes just got snatched by the town council. So then Klaus Tyler is like, oh no, Caroline, my one true love. I have to go and save her. Yeah. So Rebecca wakes up tied up inside a police van with Caroline. Caroline's like, yeah, they're taking us away because they're rounding up vampires. We got outed by Vampaloric before he died. And suddenly Klaus, I guess, causes a car crash.
Yep.
In Tyler's body, goes to rescue Caroline. Caroline's like, oh my gosh, Tyler, you're alive. How did that happen? Rebecca sees him and is like, well, what about me? Aren't you going to save me? While she thinks these people have any loyalty to her. Then Klaus takes that moment to be like, keep them busy, little sister.
Yeah.
And then runs off with Caroline. And she's like, what?
It's so, like, I understand the thing is like, okay, well, I guess they can't kill her, so she can keep them occupied while I get Caroline away. Yes. But it's like, you don't know they don't have the white oak steak. You don't know jack from shit about who's snatching people up and what means they have. What if they killed her?
And you didn't need to tell her that it was you and make her feel worse.
Oh, no,
like,
that was
what is wrong with you?
That's the one part that makes sense. The other part is like, oh, so you're okay with her potentially just dying because you don't know what they've got.
Gosh.
Okay.
On Klaus's side of things, that's when he and Caroline are in the woods. She still thinks he's Tyler. She's all over him. She's like, yeah, it's time for us to do what we do. And bang. And he's like, whoa, slow down, love. Wrong time, wrong place, wrong equipment. Yeah. She's like, no, let's... And she's like, wait, did you call me love? And he's like, I don't know, love, did I? Ugh. I will state that while he's quote-unquote chivalrous enough to pause for a second, he does continue making out with her for a bit.
I was going to say, the chivalry is from your end. I've never once and never will suggest that about Klaus in this scene.
That's why I said quote-unquote chivalrous. But
like,
yeah.
Caroline is down to her underwear by the time he actually reveals it's him. It's actually insane.
So I guess he was fine with kissing her, but he was like, whoa, no, going all the way. No, that would be wrong. He's impressed that she's able to clock that it's him without him saying that he's Klaus. He's like, that's what I enjoy about you. So much more than a pretty face.
What?
And I'm like, what?
Who else calls people love? What kind of nonsense is that? Maybe you're just dumb. I don't know what to tell you.
It's such a creepy scene, and I'm like, I don't know whether the Caroline shippers maybe don't care about the scene because it's happening with Tyler's body.
No, I'm sure they think this is nice. I'm sure they think this is good.
Because there's like some of the lines, it's like, she's like, oh my god, Klaus, you're disgusting. And he's like, and you're a glorious kisser. And I'm like, no. No. And I would like to point out to any Caroline shippers that this is Caroline and Klaus's first kiss. It happens when he's possessing her boyfriend and deceiving her about his identity. So there you have it.
Even Catherine had a better shot with the first kiss with Stefan Salvatore to set a benchmark that we need to throw out here. I don't know.
Gosh. Also, early before she realizes it's him, she's like, "Oh no, you're alive, Tyler. It's time for some hot hybrid vampire sex." By the end of the scene, when she realizes it's not him, Klaus is like, "Oh no, your mouth was all over me. I was an innocent victim." And she's like, "Put Tyler back in his body." And he's like, "Gladly. And then maybe I'll take you up on your offer of hot hybrid sex." And I was like, "Okay, this is."
You weren't being made that offer. What are you? I can't stress to you, listener, how weird season 4 is with this pairing. I cannot.
It is.
Stress
It
to
is
you
weird,
how
and
weird
I
it
will
is.
insist upon walking through the weirdness when we get to it. But back on Rebecca's side of things, someone changes the settings on Rebecca's emotional dial, I guess, because she's jailed up with Stefan and a slowly dying Elena, who hasn't gotten to complete her transition. She's pleasantly surprised that Elena's alive. She's like, "Oh no, I thought you were like dead. You're in transition." And then she's like, "Oh, cool. I get to watch you die all over again." My day just got a whole lot better. But then watching how much Stefan and Elena care about each other, and how Stefan is willing to like scream at the guard and get himself shot to try and save her and beg for her life, and how Elena's like, "By the way, Stefan, when I went off that bridge at the end of season 3, I was coming back for you. I chose you over Damon because I love you." Rebecca, something inside her melts. Her heart grows 3 sizes that day.
Sizes. It's very similar to last season when she and Klaus have that argument because she lets Damon go when Stefan brings back the stakes, and Klaus is like, "Oh, you let the Salvatores go, you've gone soft for them." She's like, "At least they understand what family is." In this moment, I guess, because this is what we're setting up for this season, she's like, "That's what true love looks like, and I want that for me." And it's like, okay,
I guess, yeah. When you frame it that she's like, "I want that for me," that makes more sense than her just being like, "Shame, let me help these two lovebirds in spite of everything." Because past this episode, she'll go right back to hating their relationship.
Right. She helps them for
hating
this
Elena.
episode alone, but it's not because she suddenly likes them. It's just that she loves love. So she's like, fine. Let me get
Like,
these
I love
out
love.
for the story.
I'm a sucker for romance.
I'm a sucker for romance.
She helps Stefan lure a guard in again and then kill him so that Elena can feed, and Elena's a vampire. Meanwhile, Klaus loses patience with Bonnie, who's going through her own drama, and is like, "Okay, if you don't put me back in my body right now, I will rip Tyler's heart out while I'm possessing him." Again, he makes it sound like he could just body jump if he wanted to. He's like, maybe I'll jump into another body, maybe Jeremy's. And I'm like, you can't do that without a witch. Which at least in this scene, Bonnie or Caroline, one of them, points out, they're like, "You don't have a witch, you can't do that." And Klaus is like, "What makes you think I don't have a witch?" And I'm like, when would you have gotten one? You have no friends.
You've been unconscious and then you got jumped into Tyler's body and it's been 1 day since. Where do you think you would have got? How would you have gotten a witch in that time? Nonsense.
But Bonnie is forced to put him back, and that's that.
Also, if you had a witch, why not just get that witch to put you back in
Yes,
your own...
why would
This
you
is
need
so
Bonnie?
stupid.
It's such a bad bluff.
Anyway.
So at the end of the episode, Rebecca returns to the Mikaelson manor to find Klaus back in his real body and looking all fresh. So I guess he fed, because remember, this was a desiccated body he was jumping back into. How did he break out of his chains? I don't know.
There is power in the name of Jesus.
Because honestly, he should have been put right back into that body and then been trapped in chains. They could have been like, "Cool, we'll leave you here. Now there's no vampaloric to make you a threat."
It's like, who showed him the pity of feeding him a couple rats, a gravedigger? Like, who would show him that kindness? I don't know.
Not the Michael reference. Bats, rats, mice, mourners, gravediggers. You won't eat anything. But Rebecca storms in, sees Klaus. He's busy packing away the remaining doppelganger blood. I guess Elena took a really long time to bleed out at the end of last season because he only has 3 bags of it.
Well, the thing is, we don't have that much blood in our body.
I guess. And usually you will donate like 1 bag at a time. So
like a legally safe amount. And then it's like, that takes like, if I remember, that takes like 20 minutes, I think, from the times I've donated blood. It takes a while for them to get like 1 blood bag out of you. At least at a rate that won't like mess up your veins or something. Listen, biology is
Klaus was trying to bleed Elena dry, though, so...
Right, but it's like, I'm assuming even the last time at the end of season 3, he had a nurse set it all up again, as he often does. I'm sure that nurse has the medical knowledge to be like, yeah, we still have to follow a certain protocol, or else her vein will get blocked, or twisted, or torsed, or whatever, and then you can't get anything. So,
I guess.
You know.
Fair enough.
Medicine exists for a reason.
I'll allow it.
Okay.
But Rebecca comes in, understandably upset, and says, how dare you save Caroline over me?
Right.
And Klaus is like, hello, brother. I thought you were dead. So pleased you're not. Just dodging accountability at every turn. And Rebecca asks, she's like, but you left me. And he's like, yeah, I only had time to save one of you, and you can't be killed, as you pointed out. And then he says, rest assured, I had a worse day than you. And I'm like, because you were in Tyler's body? Because you got rejected by Caroline?
Right.
How did you have a worse day than Rebecca? She was staked, shot at, chained up, vervain
gassed.
And her brother chose a woman over her that doesn't even like him back.
Like, always the victim. When nothing happened to him today. His life was saved by the Mystic Falls gang today. That's what happened. Bastard.
And then he says, okay, anyway, it's time for us to move on and find some more werewolves. And I'm like, shame. Every time Klaus, for whatever stupid reason, is about to leave this town, something ruins it. Mm-hmm. In this case, it's Bex. And Rebecca's like, oh, so you can create your hybrid family. You don't know anything about family. And then Klaus says, I know how easily they can be silenced with a dagger. And I'm like, jeez, dude. You almost died yesterday. Did that put nothing into perspective?
Never. There's no such thing as an existential crisis in the mind of Klaus Mikaelson.
So then Rebecca grabs one of his doppelganger bags and throws it against the wall where it bursts. Klaus is like, oh, okay, she's actually serious. She's quite upset. But by then she's already snatched up the other 2 remaining bags. And he's like, drop them. And then she tells him, no, I mourned you. My heart broke thinking I would never see you again. Mm-hmm. He's not even listening to her. He's like, Rebecca, just put the bags down. Like, let's just stop. You're being hysterical. And then she's like, no, it's always been me, Nick. Not Finn, not Elijah, not Cole. Me. I've loved you through everything and you don't even care. Which I'm like, it's sad but true. She has forgiven him more times than anyone else because she's been hurt by him more times than anyone else.
Even in this moment, as she's pouring out her heart, he's not listening to her. He's worried about his possessions. Mm-hmm. It's so messed up.
And the thing about their relationship is, instead of Klaus looking at her repeated forgiveness and saying, shame, this is really my ride or die. This is the person who loves me more than anyone. He just sees her as, no, actually, you're kind of weak and sad. And I just get to hurt you even more because now I know I can walk all over you and you'll always take me back.
Yeah.
And then he screams at her to drop it and she says, you want your family? Here's your family. And squeezes the bags until they burst. And therefore Klaus has no more doppelganger blood.
The visual of that is so vivid in my mind of her there, like Claire Holt putting on such a performance, so emotional, so distraught Rebecca, like crying at her brother who is the worst asshole to ever have her sibling. And then she crushes those blood bags with her hands and they burst. I remember that so vividly. And I was like, yeah, what are you gonna do now, you little bitch?
I mean, honestly, Klaus, if you were serious, it doesn't need to be clean blood. You could have sucked it up with some sort of like a vacuum machine. Yeah, if you're really serious about this
shit. Get a squeegee bottle and start squeezing, bitch. Okay.
Then, in an uncomfortable ending to the scene and the episode, Klaus gets like physically violent with her. Yep. Like he vamp brushes her and chokes her.
Yep.
And he's like, you know what, Rebecca, you're right. I don't care. And from this moment on, you're not my family. You're not my sister. You are nothing. And then he snaps her neck while she's gasping for air. And I'm like, I guess, bar in hell, at least he didn't dagger her. But
that bar is at the Earth's core. I really can't, to take a moment to step out of professional critical analysis. This character sucks so bad. Not in a way that doesn't make sense the way Damon often does, especially in later seasons. Like, Klaus sucks because he is a person who sucks. There's trauma there and there's history there, but he is a bad dude. He's not meant to be like a good guy. But he sucks so bad, especially directly to the people who care about him, who he supposedly also cares about, right? And then leaping into the spin-off, it's like, oh no, it's fine, don't worry about it. Coming from someone who loves the spin-off show, I just always found it hilarious that it's like, well, no, now being older, I'm like, obviously because he's the most popular character, it must hinge around him. But I was like, oh God, this is the guy I have to follow. That's
the person we have to root for. And that is why the other characters who've already been established as existing suddenly are 10 times more evil in that show because they need to make him look better. Esther is a fanatic and a terrible, abusive, sadistic mother rather than just the witch doing the necessary evils that she needed to do. Mikael is now just completely monstrous towards everyone. It's no longer just, oh, I hate Klaus specifically, and it was always my kids being caught in the crossfire. Now it's, no, I want to burn everything down. I hate Marcel. I hate Haley. I hate Davina.
I'm not surprised he hates Marcel or Haley. That's not, firstly, Haley's a werewolf. So let's be clear. We know what Mikael did
the werewolf racism and the real racism.
And the real racism, because that is a 10th century Viking. Yes, they had Ayana, but Ayana was useful to them. So
Michael's like, I can't be racist. My wife's best friend is black.
Best friend and teacher is a black woman. So frankly, Mikael and Esther, to me, I've said this already too, we've had this conversation, I'm like, post-death, they are so marred by their interactions with their children that they become those people. It's like a progression, not a rewriting, in my opinion. But I do think that some other characters in that show who are rightfully upset at the originals because they suck are painted in a villainous light because these guys are at the center, and it's like, I think I'm standing with those guys. They become
so terrible to make the Mikaelsons look good. It's like, instead of just this righteous fury and protection of their own, suddenly it's like, we're gonna sacrifice baby.
Right, we're gonna kill a baby to get to the originals. It's like, oh no.
We're going to curse children. We're gonna make children kill. We're going to do all sorts of awful things. We're gonna steal people's bodies.
Which makes for a fun show, I'll say that. Every time some new plot point comes up, I'm like, wow, that's wild. Let's go New Orleans. But I truly, watching the originals, it's like, almost at no point is Klaus the character I'm rooting for, even though he's the main character. And I just wanted to like address and be like, this is why. He's not as... No, he's still pretty much kind of sucks in the originals. He's really, really nasty to his siblings, especially Elijah, who's right there by his side the whole time, walks all over Elijah. It's crazy. Elijah, who in my opinion is the protagonist of that show. And then Haley, and there's a couple others who I like, where it's like, I'll satisfy myself with a bunch of other characters and not worry about this guy because he sucks.
Shame. I guess you watched that show feeling about Klaus the way many fans felt about Elena. She's the main, but they hate her.
I think those two things aren't comparable, and I think those people are insane.
I didn't say they were being reasonable. I'm just saying that's how they felt.
And fair enough. I just refuse to be associated with those people. Thank you very much.
Anyway, in the Vampire Diaries, we don't see the Mikaelsons for a whole episode. In the Rager, that's when Klaus is like, hey, Tyler, the new hunter in town came after you, and we hybrids are an endangered species. So even though you and I aren't allies anymore, you know, because you betrayed me by freeing yourself from slavery,
right?
I have sent my remaining hybrids here to protect you.
Which, because of the hybrids that he's got, why does Tyler especially need more protection than the others?
Because that's his firstborn son.
Right, but he's never cared about that. So why now?
I guess the Claraline shippers would say...
What? How are they involved?
They would say it's some sort of tangential care for Caroline. I don't know. Because what he says is... Because he shows up and Tyler's like, didn't you say you were leaving town?
Right.
Klaus is like, well, I was going to leave, but, you know, I have to protect you. And Tyler's like, oh, nice to know you care. And Tyler says, no, I don't. I should have killed you for that little stunt you and your friends pulled, trying to stop my heart and leave me in a coffin to rot.
Okay.
Sweeps aside the whole kissing Tyler's girlfriend thing while stealing his body.
Right.
But he's like, no, you hybrids are a dying breed. I can't make any more of you, so I won't have anyone taking liberties with the ones I have left. And maybe that's it. He says I won't have anyone else taking liberties with the one I have left. Because in the ensuing episodes, he serves them up on a platter to Connor and doesn't really try to protect their well-being.
No blinking, nothing. Because he's like, I'll sacrifice a few pawns now for the possibility of making more in the future, which is so yeah, I guess having them all in one place where you can see them.
Yeah. And again, in this scene, it's Kara Lockwood who's made a deal. She's like, yeah, I don't like Klaus either, but he said he was going to come protect you. So I invited him and his hybrids into our home, and they're here to protect you. And I'm like, it's sweet how she's constantly trying to bargain for like peaceful solutions with these villains in her town. We'll see how well that serves her in the future.
It rarely does. Bless you, girlie. Do you know you have about 7 episodes left?
Her clock is running out.
Oh.
The rest of the episode is just about Rebecca, who is back to being a mean girl.
Yeah.
Gone is the affection that she somehow managed to pull out of herself for Stelena. She walks into class, is handing out flyers to some party that she's having. It's the titular Rager, because the episode is called The Rager.
Yeah, it's an anti-curfew party because the town has put a curfew following the explosion of Pastor Young and the council. R.I.P.
She hands Elena a flyer, making it seem like she doesn't really quite hate her just yet. She's like, you're welcome to come if you want to bury the hatchet. And Elena says, well, it's a pretty enormous hatchet, because you killed me. And then Rebecca's like, no, I'm feeling generous of spirit. Elena takes some digs at the rift that is currently between Klaus and Rebecca, because Rebecca has moved out. Rebecca says, he didn't kick me out, I left. And Elena says, so you left the only person on earth that actually likes you.
Here's the thing. Rebecca did kill her. So I understand Rebecca. As always, I'm like, listen, this 18-year-old girl, this nobody, constantly stepping up to you, an immortal. But you did just kill her. Not try to. You got her, right? You X'd her life out. I think she's allowed a few barbs. I don't know.
Rebecca disagrees, because after Elena says that the only person who actually likes her has left her, she says, well, your boyfriend liked me once. Actually, a lot more than once. And I was like, okay. Is this who we are, Rebecca?
Is this how we live?
But I guess confirmation that she and Stefan definitely actually went all the way in the 1920s.
Assumed. It's not.
They were always in that damn bar. I was like, did you leave Gloria's at any point? Because Klaus knew about Stefan's apartment and his little murder board. Rebecca didn't. So I'm like, did Rebecca ever come over to your place?
Bathrooms at Gloria's Speakeasy. I don't think it was like romantic and like sweeping.
Oh gosh.
Like, I mean, I'm sure she thought it was. But it was the 20s. They were too busy flapping to go back to a home.
Oh gosh. Speaking of Stefan, he's like, Rebecca, why are you being Regina George? Don't you have anywhere else to go? She's like, no, well, history's my favorite class, which is the first thing she said on her first day at the school.
It's true.
And then she says, actually, where's Mr. Saltzman? Oh, that's right. I killed him.
That's where you lose me, Rebecca, because that's insane. Okay? That's insane. Especially as someone with a complicated relationship with her dad who tried to kill her. I think you would have a little bit of empathy for Elena and Rick being dead. That's crazy.
Ooh. No, she's having the time of her life. Elena like flings a pencil at her. She catches it and throws it back, makes Elena bleed. When Elena goes to the bathroom to clean up, Rebecca shows up with some compelled classmate. Don't know when she did that. Who she's bitten into so that she can trigger Elena's bloodlust. She pisses Elena off and Elena's like, why are you here? This is my school and my life.
Right.
Like, and Rebecca says, well, it's my school now. My life. Maybe you're the one who shouldn't be here. And I'm like, Rebecca, you sound like a 5-year-old.
You're 1,000 years old. You just foiled Klaus Mikaelson's plan to make a bunch more hybrids, and now you're in high school fighting with a high school girl.
Now she's in a 2000s movie. They're both campaigning for prom queen and trying to undo each other's lives.
From a meta point, right? There is a narrative requirement here to facilitate Elena's vampire transition. We need to see Elena go through heightened emotions, grapple with vampire bloodlust, grapple with the instinct to maim and harm when you are pissed off. So from a certain angle, it's like, okay, I guess this was the only way we could think of with the pieces we currently have in the story to have that happen. But it's like, god damn. I wish there was another way and Rebecca was doing her own shit. I don't know.
Unfortunately, that's kind of all she's doing in this arc.
Yeah.
She's here to be an antagonist to Elena. at school, at social events. Connor is lurking the hallways, and Rebecca is fully aware that there's a vampire hunter. And so she smears blood on Elena's face and triggers her vampiric instincts and is like, well, I guess now he's gonna probably find you and kill you. Sorry. And then she leaves, and I'm like, but you saved her yesterday or 2 days ago, whenever it was. Why didn't you just let her die then?
The sail has caught a tailwind. We've shifted right back to course.
And as she leaves, she literally says, see you in gym. I think it's dodgeball day. I like to think there's a deleted scene where she's bullying Elena with dodgeballs like Santana once did in Glee. Yeah, eventually she has her party. Elena and Stefan go to the party to try and prove that they're unbothered by her. Well, before the party, because it's not just Elena who Rebecca's being ridiculous with. Rebecca goes to Matt at school. Right after she's done with Elena, she goes directly to Matt. She's like the only other character I can interact with now that I'm done with Elena. And she's like, hey cutie, wanna come to my party? Matt doesn't even turn to look at her.
Because again, you tried to kill him.
She's like, listen, I know you're angry that I ran you off the bridge, but you have to understand, Alaric killed my brother. He was trying to kill me. I had to do something to stop him. Matt still doesn't speak to her. And then she says, look, I never wanted to hurt you.
Girl?
He finally looks at her, scoffs, and walks away without a word. And I love it.
I need to understand if it's a matter of how little she knows Matt or how little she thinks of Elena. That she thought that was a thing that would get her out of the doghouse. I wasn't trying to kill you, baby. I was trying to kill your ex-girlfriend that you're super still in love with. What? Rebecca!
I think it's a mark of how she spent 1,000 years dismissing the value of human life.
Sure.
So since Matt is human, she's like, you have to understand that your life didn't really mean much in the grand scheme of things. I'm sorry you were a pawn on the board that I sacrificed to kill a knight.
Sure.
But, you know, bygones. Like, let it go, dude. Come on.
So she's been daggered so many times that she doesn't understand. No, it sucks when somebody does that to you. She's gotten used to it being like, oh, get over it, Bex. Let's get back to business.
Well, serves her right, because when Connor accosts Matt in the hallway and is like, I know you've got a vampire friend running around here somewhere because of all these bite marks. He's like, yeah, my friend's name is Rebecca Mikaelson. Oh. Here's her address. She's having a party.
Listen, fair.
And you know what? Deserved. Fair. Honestly.
Again, she killed Elena and almost killed him. I think he's well within his rights.
At the party, Rebecca, I guess, meets April Young for the first time, who Elena is, like, speaking to. Because April Young is like, yeah, I'm actually having my own TV show here in the background. I'm this young girl, this ingenue who's come back to her childhood town where her father mysteriously died. And I've just realized, like, there's a lot of weird stuff going on here, like animal attacks and gas leaks and explosions and unsolved murders. It's really odd. And Elena's like, oh, pish posh, that's not as... Wait, when you say it like that, when you put on your tinfoil hat, girl.
Right.
Like, and then Rebecca suddenly inserts herself into the conversation and she's like, yeah, it's weird. It's like this town's cursed or something.
So annoying. But actually, it really is funny how much April Young is like a protagonist of her own show. That's so funny. Justice for the spin-off, The Hunting Party, with April Young and her 3 boys.
It could have worked. Oh, shame. We get some more werewolf lore from Tyler. We learn about finally. The hunter. We introduced the Maxwells in that show.
Right.
For Matt's little thing.
Where it might have mattered a bit more.
Elena sends April off because she's like, okay, well, now we're back to the main show, April, so you're not needed here.
Right.
And Rebecca's just like, did I forget to uninvite you, Elena? And Elena says, speaking of Pastor Young, did you blow up the town council? Because we still don't know who did that. And Rebecca's like, I'm offended by that accusation. How dare you accuse me, the person who killed you last week, of murdering a bunch of innocent people?
Burned you alive in a cave one time. Why would I burn a bunch
Why
of
would I
people
kill a bunch of vampire hunters who kidnapped me earlier that day?
She says, you come to my party, accuse me of murder, drink my beer, snatches a red solo cup out of her hand and drinks it. Her worst mistake this episode.
Oh, yes. She also takes an opportunity to swipe Elena's daylight ring. I was like, I don't know how you did that. It's giving Storm on the streets of Cairo, like pickpocket. don't know. Elena starts to burn. She vamp speeds to the shadows and is like, hey, give me my ring back. And Rebecca's like, well, fetch it yourself. And she throws it into the garbage disposal and walks away.
There you go. She said I've trained with Ahmed Al-Jabbar or whatever his name was. I never remember his name. Love that man.
For Elena's part, once she gets her ring back, she reveals that she came to the party with the white oak stick.
Yes. And says, I'm gonna kill this girl.
She pulls it out and Stefan's like, whoa, sweetie. And it's so funny. It's so funny that Stefan says this, considering where we end up. Stefan's like, it would feel really good to kill her, for a few minutes. And then you'd realize that tens of thousands of vampires all over the world are dying as well because of what you did. And he's like, girl, reel it in. You don't want to be this person. And I'm like, cool. That energy will disappear in a few days. Elena decides, hey, let me show Rebecca that she can't get to me. Let me do a keg stand before we leave, because we're leaving, because this is lame. Drink down some of this beer, and then walk away and be like, yeah, drops Mike. Unfortunately, that's the same beer Rebecca's drinking, which is spiked with Tyler's hybrid venom.
That's the only issue. So much dramatic irony with this beer that's spiked.
So Elena starts dying. Rebecca starts hallucinating, but not dying. She has some sort of lucid nightmare that while she's sick and looking in the mirror and trying to figure out what's going on, Matt shows up unexpectedly at her party and he's like, whoa, you don't look so good. And she's like, whatever it is, it's not the white oak steak, so it can't kill me. She's like, I'm surprised you showed up, Matt, because you seem pretty upset. And Matt's like, well, I thought about it. You explained why you ran me off the bridge, so I thought the least I could do is explain how I feel. And the truth is, Rebecca, I think you're amazing. And she's like, oh, compliment. And then he's like, no, let me finish. I think it's amazing how emotionally stunted you are. Amazing as in shocking, unsettling, appalling. And he tells her, you've had 1,000 years to learn, start afresh, and grow, but you've somehow managed to throw it all away. Now you're alone. You compel all your friends. Your brother hates you. You whine about not finding love. The reason you don't find love is because you don't deserve it. At which point, Rebecca rips out his heart and kills him, except it's all a hallucination. Matt was never there, which means this is all her own subconscious talking to her.
Oh, certainly. Loathing. Internal self-directed loathing.
I just love that it's her own mind dragging her for filth right now. I'm like, damn, shame. Sorry, Rebecca. Sucks to suck.
Sucks to suck, I guess.
But at the end of the episode, once the venom has worked its way out of her system, well, it's mostly worked its way out. She's still a bit weak, but she wakes up lucid, and April Young is there. And she's like, yeah, I'm helping clean up your party if the cops shut down, because, curfew and all. Rebecca, I guess, sympathizes with her, because she's like, oh, I don't want to go home and think about the family I no longer have. That's why I'm still here helping you clean up. And then Rebecca's heart grows 3 sizes again.
Well, regrows. It shrunk in between then and now.
It shrank, and then she grows it again. And she's like, shame, April, I will help you investigate what happened with this council. So I guess they become friends.
Yeah, it's cute. But it causes more problems than it's worth, so I don't super care about it.
Certainly. Elsewhere in this episode, Klaus is helping Damon, I guess, hunt Connor, I think. He doesn't know who he is yet, but eventually he finds out that, oh no, Connor Jordan is one of the 5. And I know what that means, because I'm old as hell and I know everything. Mm-hmm. Damon, I think at this point, has heard something about some greater evil that is coming to town. And he's like, maybe you can cue me in on this greater evil, because I fought this guy, gesturing at Klaus, and he's like, there's nothing more evil than that. Mm-hmm. And then Klaus says, yeah, truth be told, I'm as evil as it gets.
Glad he owns it. Good for him, I guess. Also, this is the first instance of a Klaus Damon buddy cop situation, and it is all he's gonna get. This is Klaus throwing Damon a bone. So good for him.
But Connor triggers the explosive device that they've tied him to, and I guess Damon assumes he blew up and Klaus vamps sped away. But it turns out Klaus saved him and is like, I saved your life, you're gonna tell me all about the Brotherhood of the 5. In the next episode, Elijah's back.
Finally. In a flashback, but still. I was like,
yeah.
That's also the thing about season 4, outside of them just like no longer fitting the show. It's that Elijah's barely in it. So what's the point? You know?
We get a flashback to 1110 AD, and we see the unnamed Witch of the 5 creating the Brotherhood of the 5. Meanwhile, Rebecca shows up at the Mystic Grill. She can't take a hint. She's like, hey, Matt, I realize I did wrong. So I bought you a new car to replace your old one. It's insured. The keys outside of there, everything but a big red bow. And Matt's like, if that's your idea of an apology, you should probably give it to Elena. She's the one you killed.
It's like, if you're gonna buy a car for Elena, it better be an SUV and nothing else. But also the thing to be like, yes, the issue with what I did is that your car was damaged.
And I'm like, this is what you deserve for making jokes about, is Matt's car insured in the season premiere?
Precisely.
Klaus is nearby watching her get shot down and is like, ha ha, too bad for you. And then Rebecca's like, why are you here? You said you were leaving town.
Right.
Why are you still here, Klaus?
Klaus being like, I thought you were gone.
Klaus jumps out again and he says, oh, I thought to myself, how can I leave town when my sister, clearly so desperate for love and affection, is here bribing the help? And I was like, you, Klaus. But he tells her that the Brotherhood of the Five still exists. And Rebecca's like, oh, okay, now I'm listening. And he's like, you see? And just like that, bygones.
And just like that.
So he said it before Bonnie.
You know what? Mortals die, daggers enter and exit our chests. But at the end of the day...
So he's like, yeah, Rebecca, now that I've got your attention, come along. You're my little sidekick. Let's do work. And Rebecca's like, go to hell. I don't care about the Five and I don't care about you. And Klaus is like, well, I guess that didn't work. I know how to get through to her. I'll use the boyfriend that we share.
This episode may be the worst instance of the things we have. When I was editing the last session, I was like, were we being too harsh on Rebecca and her like character and storylines and how, again, to be clear, how she is written. This is a character we love and wish had more.
Yes.
And then I remembered, no, there's still more of this coming. This is the like quintessential like peak of how they write this character and how dirty she's done in this damn show.
Klaus summons Stefan to his home and is like, hey, I've got Connor here. I need your help because Rebecca has something I want. Go sweet talk over me. She's angry at me for some reason. I don't know why. Just go get her. He does let Stefan into a flashback set 4 years after the Five are created. And he's like, yeah, my two fave siblings and I, the always and forever trio, we were wandering around and these vampire hunters showed up, like doing public demonstrations of burning vampires in the square. Ghetto-ass vampires who don't have daylight rings. We get to see Elijah. Elijah says, between Klaus here, they're in Italy currently, he says, between Klaus here and Cole in the east, stories of the original vampires are spreading. And I was like, oh.
What is Cole doing in the East?
I don't know if he's in the East as in Asia or is he in Eastern Europe. Is Cole Dracula?
Actually, when does the Tale of Vlad Dracul happen? That's a bit later than this. That's like 2 or 3 centuries after this.
Yeah.
Maybe it's Nosferatu.
He's Orlok.
He's Count Orlok. Cole, actually, if you reverse it, is Luck. So, there's something here.
There we go.
We're connecting the dots. We're pulling the strings.
It's OR, short for original. And then it's Cole backwards.
Luck, Cole. We start to rise off our sofas. I am Cole Mikaelson. I must drink.
Truly the worst vampire body I've ever seen. I'm like, you are wheezing, you are struggling, you are as undead as I've ever seen a vampire be.
Truly,
my gosh.
A well-cooked piece of meat, you are falling off the bone. I am so concerned about your structural integrity at any given second.
Ooh.
Oh,
gosh. I'm like, just take the cure at this point. Because I don't think this is worth it.
Necromancy's not worth it, I don't think. As an aficionado of the dark arts, I don't think this is worth it, buddy.
In the flashback, we see that Rebecca is getting all flirty with the vampire hunter. And I don't blame her. He is, a beefcake.
If you're into that vibe of, like, Templar pretty boy, he works.
Templar, the shirtless Templar knight.
As they did.
In that scene, Elijah's like, yeah, Klaus, you're not very discreet. People have been hearing about us. And he's like, me? What about Rebecca? She's over there flirting with the enemy. Don't make it about me.
Crazy to be like, because Rebecca's flirting. Not because I slaughter indiscriminately and without covering my tracks. Because Rebecca's flirting with that man. That's what's going to get us in trouble.
But anyway, Klaus is like, yeah, so Stefan, run along, find Rebecca, and I'll finish the story later because let me tell you, this is the answer to all your prayers.
Oh, God.
And meanwhile, Matt finds April hanging out with Rebecca and he's like, ew, are you guys friends? And Rebecca's like, is it so hard to believe I have one? And Matt is like, well, yes.
Well, yeah. You kind of suck. And the fact that it's a girl, too, is a bit boggling my mind. You usually hate those.
Insane.
So this is new.
She said this is a freshman. She's not a threat. She's
True.
not important. I only fight with seniors.
Is April a freshman? Goodness.
I don't think so. She's probably at least a sophomore, if not a
16,
junior,
yeah.
because she goes to prom with them.
Right. And I think the drinking would be a bit more concerning if she was a freshman at their party. I think a lot.
Does she ever drink?
Is she at the Rager?
She's at the Rager, but she's
must
just
be drinking at the Rager.
She's Scooby-Dooing. She's in her own show, remember? She's Veronica Mars at the Rager, trying to figure out who killed her father.
She's probably like, I filled it up with water so nobody would like get weird and ask me questions about why I'm not drinking. Oh, bless. April.
Matt tells Rebecca he's keeping the truck and then walks away. And then Stefan's like, hey, Bex, your brother is dropping hints about the Brotherhood of the Five. He says you know something. And Rebecca's like, Klaus will just betray you. Don't trust him. And Stefan's like, well, let's not make this about him. Let's make this about you and me. And Rebecca's like, no, you hate me because I killed Elena or something. And then he's like, okay, listen, I'm not saying I'm willing to let go of you killing Elena. That was wrong. But maybe we can get past it and coexist if you help me with this. And I'm like, okay, sure, Stefan. He also clocks her tea and is like, look, girl, it's very obvious that you're lonely and without purpose. The writers don't know what to do with you. You might as well join my storyline.
Let me fold you into some important shit, okay? Stop asking questions.
So he brings her back. Klaus is like, oh, cool, Rebecca's sweet. Let's have dinner. The three of them have dinner. He's being childish. He's like, Rebecca, eat your veggies. And then she's like, I'm not eating anything until you apologize. And he says, for which indiscretion? There have been so many. And so she's like, yeah, you broke my neck. He's like, well, you destroyed my doppelganger blood. And then she's like, yeah, because you took me for granted. And Klaus is like, oh, that's what big brothers do, sweetheart.
Oh my God.
And then Stefan says, can I just name the million other people I'd rather be having dinner with right now? Stuck at dinner with your two exes who hate each other.
Right.
A nightmare, Stefan.
These guys, am I right? It's like, Stefan, get out of here.
And then Klaus, Gaslight King, is like, all right, fine. I'm sorry. I forget how delicate you are. Forgive me. And I was like, hi, boy. Delicate.
Insufferable.
They launch into their little story about how they met the five. What I like about this flashback scene with the Always and Forever trio is that they're having dinner with Alexander. None of the other five are on screen. They might not even be there because they're extras. Elijah is the one really like sort of driving the conversation. He's like being the leader, even though we know he isn't the leader. It made me think of how in the Twilight books and the films, Laurent, who is a lot more composed and well-mannered than James, pretends to be the leader. He's like the spokesperson for the group, even though James is in charge. And I was like, shame. Yeah. Elijah is Laurent. James would be Klaus. And I mean, I wish I could say Rebecca's Victoria.
That doesn't work for a number of reasons.
I mean, not just because Victoria is James's love interest, but also because I'm like, Victoria is the one who is, she's got all the plans. She's got all the cards in her lap.
She's the cunning. I guess like initial Rebecca before the Metamorphosis 1.
But also, Victoria's like, I hate Bella and I'm going to kill her. No, she hates Stefan and wants to kill Bella just to get revenge.
Right. But then, she hates Bella because of Edward, not because of anything Bella did.
Yeah, she hates Edward. Okay. Well,
it was never going to be 1-2-1.
2 out of 3.
Nice.
But yeah, Klaus, who's narrating the flashback, is like, we're not ghetto vampires. We had daylight rings. So we're like, it's fine. Alexander will never suspect us. He's hunting creatures of the night. However, Alexander does not really reveal exactly what he's up to. He's just like, oh, we have the ultimate weapon to wipe out vampires from the world. But that's all I'm saying. My lips are sealed. So then Klaus is like, thankfully Rebecca was able to, use her woman's wiles to get it out of him. And it's crazy that he initially frames it this way. He's like, Rebecca was only too happy to get it out of him. Because by the end of the episode, he's right back to slut-shaming her.
Yes. It's fine when it's useful to him, but when it's not, she's a slut. God.
So, yeah, at this point, he's brought in Jeremy to recreate Connor's tattoo. And then that's when we see the flashback with Rebecca getting it on with Alexander. And then pausing when she sees the dagger for the first time. A dagger which she had no idea what it would do. She didn't know. It's not her fault. I will forgive her this. But she's like, what's that? And he's like, oh, that's a very special weapon for a very special kind of vampire. And she's like, but Alexander, like, are they really all that bad? Like, you don't think maybe, possibly, you might meet one? No one I know, just hypothetically.
Yeah, just theoretical.
One that, you wouldn't kill. And he's like, no, let's not talk about that. That's gross hunter manly stuff. You're just a woman. Just relax. Let's keep kissing. Daggers her as things get more hot and heavy. Klaus is like, yeah, so Alexander and his friends had a slumber party. They found me, Elijah, Finn, and Cole sleeping and daggered us in our sleep. And Stefan's like, yeah, but the daggers don't work on you. And Klaus is like, oh, no, they don't. All it did was wake me up, and then I killed them all and undaggered my sibling. And then I went to yell at Rebecca for being a dumb harlot. And I'm like, wait, but I thought you wanted her to seduce Alexander.
She's the only reason you were able to kill these guys.
It's so weird. The scene is framed as though the only reason Alexander figured out that they were vampires,
is because of Rebecca.
Vampires, is because Rebecca got too close.
Yes.
And allowed herself to be vulnerable. And I'm like, but in what way? She didn't say anything.
Right.
And he clearly already knew she was a vampire because he daggered her immediately. It's not like she said, surely some of them might be good. And then Alexander was like, wait a second.
Now, hold on right there. I had said in an early, I think this was in the Silas episode, because that's when we first discussed the Brotherhood of the Five. I had said, maybe because I'd physically, if you're with a vampire, I'm sure at some point, I don't think a vampire can be so constantly in control of their strength that you won't feel at some point, oh, that's a bit strong for, especially if you're used to hunting vampires and you know what to expect. But now I'm like, they came to their home with weapons ready.
Yeah.
And knew that all of them were vampires. He didn't just figure out that Rebecca was a vampire by herself and then daggered her. They went to all of their rooms and daggered them. That was an operation. So it has to have been because Klaus and Cole were up to shit. And now Rebecca's being blamed for it.
Not to mention, I mean, I guess at some point, Finn and Cole must have come back from off screen.
Right, because they're in here when this happens.
It's Elijah and Klaus who invite Alexander and his friends to dinner. Rebecca did not extend that invite.
It was not for Rebecca's benefit that they invited these people.
It's her fault because she's the silly girl original.
She's the foolish, love-struck woman. It's like, oh, God. And I guess at least to an extent there, but no, because right after this, right, it's the scene where Klaus is denigrating her for this, and she's like, go ahead, mock the girl who loved too easily.
Yeah.
So it's like,
he drags her for it. Like in the flashback, he's angry and yelling at her and blaming her. He's like, oh, because of your stupidity, you almost let your entire family be killed. And in the present, he's like laughing at her. He's like, oh, a toast to my sister and her uncanny ability to choose men. Which, by the way, aside, wild to say when Stefan, her ex-boyfriend, is sitting right there at the table.
Who you love, just because you've had some troubles. But what I'm saying is, like, I'm trying to gauge whether the narrative here, let alone what Klaus says, because regardless of whether it's situation A or B, Klaus is gonna shame her for this, because that's Klaus.
Yeah.
But is the narrative saying, yes, it is Rebecca's foolish, well, not necessarily that way, but it's like, hey, Rebecca is a lonely sort who's seeking out connection, and because of that, they were, like, it's not her fault, but this is why it happened? Or is the narrative actually smart enough to be like, actually, this is some shit, and it was their fault, not Rebecca's? I can't tell what the narrative is spinning here.
It doesn't feel like it, because I even thought maybe the five could just maybe sense vampires sometimes with enough like prolonged exposure. But I'm like, but Connor usually walks around with his vervain-soaked gloves, so it's clearly not an automatic thing. He has this test that he uses.
That's true.
So I'm like, it feels like the narrative is trying to paint this as, oh, Rebecca let her guard down because, she's so desperate for love.
Yeah,
it's like,
that's the thing.
It doesn't make, how?
Yeah, now that I think about it, the only sensory thing that the hunters have, apparently we see through Jeremy sensing Silas, which is a weird narrative combination of things that's happening where the hunters are supposed to hunt vampires, but also kill the first immortal. So, I don't know. For a second there, I was like, maybe the narrative is smart enough to be like, this dogpiling is, in actuality, it was Klaus, Cole, and
not in this
Elijah.
show.
Not on this show, right?
Not for Rebecca. But Klaus reveals that after he slaughtered Alex and Co., That's a Disney Channel reference for those of you in the know. He got Rebecca to reveal that Alex had promised her, and this I assume was a conversation that happened off screen before she was daggered, because that's the last conversation she and Alexander have. But he had promised her there was a cure for vampirism. That was the weapon. So I'm like, maybe Rebecca expressed so much interest in this cure that was what tipped Alexander off.
It still remains, why would they assume all the others were? I guess because you would assume vampires ride together. I don't know.
But also, they must have known these were the originals because they used the daggers, which only work on originals.
You're right. Well, have we seen the daggers used on regular vampires?
I mean, they never get used on anyone. I assume that white oak ash and a piece of metal isn't going to kill an ordinary vampire.
That's true.
But anyway, Rebecca gets upset and leaves. Klaus is like, oh dear, I've upset her. Stefan, can you go... Can you go calm her down? What he actually says to upset her, because I think at this point Rebecca's like, yeah, okay, if the cure is back on the table, let's all go get it. I'm willing to let bygones be bygones and work with you. And then Klaus is like, what? With you? You'll be blabbing this secret to the first boy who calls you pretty.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then he drags her for how pathetic it is that she hands her heart to any man, yada yada, the endless cycle of disappointment and deception. And I'm like, but that's also the only reason you two have a relationship, because she's very forgiving and cycles through toxic relationships constantly.
Right. But as you said, he finds that pathetic, right? Like whenever she comes back to him, it's not well, I'm sorry and thank you for forgiving me. It's, you obviously are going to forgive me because you're so weak and I walk all over you. Like that is how he sees her.
I mean, at least she does get some licks in because she acknowledges that, yes, I'm this way even with you. Like, I constantly give you second chances despite the fact that you ruin my life all the time. And this is when she tells Stefan that, by the way, after we were daggered, Klaus left the dagger in Finn and left him to rot for 900 years until season 3 when Elijah let him out because he found Finn's judgment to be boring. And Klaus is like, yeah, he was a dullard who was more interesting lying in a box. What's the issue?
Jesus. Just as a convenience. Oh, thank God I have something that'll shut him up now. 900 years.
Gosh.
Will give you such a crick in the neck.
I got that reference. But yeah, she leaves and that's when Klaus is like, Stefan, go get her because we need that cure so that you can cure Elena and I can cure Elena for the doppelganger blood. We all want the same thing. Eventually, Stefan is able to get her to open up about the fact that, oh yes, she loved Alexander and they even planned to be married someday. And even after his betrayal and, his murder, she buried him in the place they planned to be married with his sword. And she's like, wait, that's what Klaus sent you here to get me to say.
To know, isn't it? Oh.
And despite this happening, this scene taking place in Chez Salvatore, where he called her after the fact, Klaus is suddenly there and he's like, surprise, I've got a dagger.
Got the dagger with me.
And that's when she's like, no, it's fine, make fun of me, laugh at the girl who loved blindly, but I would rather live my life than yours because nobody will ever sit around at a table telling stories about the man who couldn't love. And I'm like, we get a spin-off series where we do that. But
yes, that's the thing, right? Is that he'll be remembered forever. Even if it's by people who hate him, he's immortalized. So I don't know if that works necessarily. I don't think he's super concerned about being remembered fondly by most people.
I mean, here we are, sitting at a table telling stories about it.
So, I guess he wins in the end either way.
I do like that at least this time she's like, you know what? I know I've lost, and Stefan's here to help you. I'm not going to try and run. Look me in the eyes when you do it. Dagger me to my face, you coward. And then he does.
He does it.
And then he turns to Stefan and is like, yeah, could you, stash her body somewhere, secret? And I'm like, no, what is Stefan? What?
Well, because Stefan's now his stooge, right? He's got the whole cure for Elena situation hung over him, which is the thing Stefan will do anything for.
Gosh.
So
it's also this episode where Klaus finds out that Connor's tattoo is still growing and isn't complete because he's like, oh, I could see. It's also weird. So everyone could see the original Five's tattoos.
Yes.
But all the hunters after them have tattoos that are invisible except to each other and to potentials.
Maybe after that massacre, the magic was like, ooh.
The magic evolved.
Maybe we need to safeguard our people a little bit better. The Witch of the Miss Van der Faith from the other side was like, okay.
Miss Van der Faith!
Work out. we're gonna shift it a little bit and see how we can keep them a little bit safer.
Yeah, the next couple of episodes, we just deal with Connor hunting people. Klaus leaves that hybrid to look after him. The cool alt boy hybrid with an earring.
Like
Nate
him.
is his name. Gets the earring bitten off, and then Connor uses that to pick the locks, then decapitates him so he can use his head for more hybrid venom. It's wild. This hybrid is, again, told to watch him without using lethal force. And it's like, well, that might be the reason why he died.
Right.
Klaus doesn't learn from this and sends the next hybrid, Dean, to go and get Connor again without using lethal force.
It's the one who gets a bunch of chains blasted through his chest.
Oh, yeah, it's like nails and it's awful. Speaking of hybrids, this is also the era in which Klaus is like, ooh, Tyler cheated on Caroline with this new girl, Haley. And I know. He's like, and I'm gonna blackmail you.
Falling for such a stupid ruse truly purely because he loves the teenage T. If he weren't such a diva about like the drama that goes on between these teens, he would not be so easily duped by this. But he is. So he is.
And the funny thing is, they weren't even setting that up.
No.
He just came in and made assumptions, and Tyler was like, yes,
Sure.
and improv.
They didn't even need to make the ruse up. He made it up for himself.
He did that all on his own.
Tensions ran high, inhibitions ran low.
Mind you, they're all working to unsire his hybrids. So I was like, And eventually Caroline is also in on it. That's episode 5. In episode 6, it's Elena with her delusions from the Hunter's Curse.
Yeah.
Klaus reveals that, oh, I've been through this before. Remember, I killed the original 5. And then they're like, yeah, except you're immortal. So how did the curse affect you? And Klaus is like, well, I became suicidal, but I can't die. So I was just tormented by specters and hallucinations for, what does he say? 52 years, 4 months, and 9 days.
Yeah. Which is maybe the most interesting thing we learn about Klaus Mikaelson in this show. Because in this episode, we're seeing Elena, and I think a little bit of the prior one, her going through the Hunter's Curse, and then extrapolating that to 52 years to just be like, how the hell do you go through something like that? That's crazy.
With a curse designed to make you
Want to kill yourself.
feel like you just want to end it all.
And you can't
And
die.
it's like, well, you can't. And I'm like, but Klaus also, Michael was already hunting you. If you wanted to die, why didn't you just like get a witch to contact him and be like, put the white oak stake in me, daddy. I'm tired.
I guess his will was too strong, right? You know, it's Klaus Mikaelson.
And the funny thing is, the show, I guess, puts a time limit on it because Elena's like, how did you get it to stop? And he's like, one day it just stopped.
Yeah.
So either it wears off with enough time, the curse gets bored, or it took 5 decades for a new generation of the 5 to awaken.
Yeah, I think because he killed all 5 of the 5, because we see Elena kill 1, and then 1 new hunter of the 5 must be born for that curse to disappear. He had to wait for the magic to find 5 new potentials, and also for those potentials to then awaken as hunters. Because you've got to kill an actual vampire before it actually works, like the magic takes hold.
He tells Elena it's the only period in his life as a vampire where he felt the passage of time. So I was like, ooh.
Yeah.
That is pretty interesting. I would have loved to see that in a flashback, maybe in the spin-off series, but we never do.
Well, I don't know what I don't know if there is a flashback I can envision that would have been like fruitful in that period. Like, what would we have?
I guess. It's just there's a lot of just like throwaway lines or like hinting at stuff from their past in this show that we then actually get to see in the spin-off shows.
Okay.
Flashbacks. And it's like, oh, that's when that happened, and that's how that went down. That's kind of all Klaus does this episode in terms of Elena. He's just like calling up Stefan and being like, yeah, I've kidnapped her. Initially, he goes to their house to be like, give me Elena, and they're like, no. She runs outside because she's hallucinating, and then he swipes her and runs away. Locks her up in a room where he's like, nothing in here can kill you. And I'm like, there's wooden furniture everywhere, Klaus. What are you talking about?
Many sharp implements in this. And she's a vampire. Maybe that's what he's not clocking. He hasn't clocked that she's like strong now.
2 other things relating to Klaus happen. One is wildly, at the start of the episode, he's at the Lockwood mansion, where Haley and Tyler are like, yeah, Klaus, you got Dean killed because you wouldn't let him defend himself. And Tyler's like, firstly, Haley, who are you? I don't know why you're involving yourself. I don't know who the hell you are. Also, Tyler, you don't tell me what to do. I do my own thing. Frankly, I'm just annoyed that Connor is now dead because there's reasons that I want him. I'm not going to tell you because you're in the B plot,
right.
But there's reasons why I wanted that hunter alive. And Caroline shows up, and all of a sudden he's like, oh, shame you guys are breaking up because you found out about... And he's like, oh, that's sad. Actually, he was like, hybrids, come on, we out. We're going to leave Caroline here to deal with her man, her cheating ass, lying man.
Right.
I don't want to make things... Shame. No.
Let
I'm
them
not
deal
that
with the
bad.
trauma. I'm not a heart this monster. Let's give them their space.
Oh, wait, I forgot. We get a Caroline scene in this episode.
In this episode? Oh, I forgot.
Caroline is sent to sweet talk Klaus into giving Elena back to the Salvatores.
Oh, yes.
He immediately clocks that, oh, they sent you because the Mystic Falls gang knows that I'm susceptible to your charms. But he's like, but the answer is no. And then Caroline's like, well, please. And he's like, no, I'm helping Elena. And honestly, you should be dealing with your Tyler drama. Honestly, like you have enough on your plate. And Caroline's like, that is none of your business. Let's not even go there. And he's like, okay. But let me just say this crazy line. Tyler would have never hurt you if he was still sired to me.
Now, again, if you haven't listened
and we've
to the
discussed how that's
Caroline
a wild thing
episode,
to say. It's an outright lie. We've discussed that.
It's frankly nonsensical.
But on the other side of this insane coin, since I'm giving the Caroline shippers
yes.
whatever bones I can scrape out of the dustbin, I will allow the intention of this scene, as it is written, shot, and acted, to come through.
Okay.
And it is that Klaus genuinely cares about Caroline and is sorry to see her in pain, or what he believes to be pain. And he's chivalrous enough to make it clear that he would rather see her be happy with another guy than see her being hurt at all. Of course, I also said I'd be stating facts, and the fact is that no matter how the writers intended the scene to come across, none of this is true to how Klaus behaved towards Caroline and her relationship with Tyler in the last season.
Or will do in the upcoming episodes.
But yeah, I guess Caroline is affected by his genuine display of tenderness because she makes this face that she'll continue to make this season where she like looks away and she's like, oh my gosh, what was that? Was that nice?
Okay.
Strange.
Sure.
Anyway, Caroline Shippers, your rose-colored glasses can't blind you from what happens next, because when Caroline is forced to come clean about Elena having escaped, he's like, oh, okay, well, I'm off to go be murderous. And she's like, wait, don't go. And he's like, Caroline, love, you're beautiful and all, but if you don't stop talking, I will kill you. And I'm like, well, there you have it. That's romance.
Imagine that being a thing you hear and then going, oh my God. He said he would kill me if I kept talking. We're going to be married by June. Oh my goodness. I can't fathom that. I really can't.
Gosh.
Maybe it's just a difference
it's
of taste,
wild.
Man.
But I guess they win in the end because she agrees to go on a date with him if he lets them sacrifice Chris the hybrid to save Elena from the Hunter's curse.
The sequence of events is insane to me, but yeah.
He also gets a scene with Haley, who at this point, we have no idea how important she'll be to him. It's the scene where I'm like, oh, look at the loyalty these people have for each other that they'll never have for you, Klaus. And in this instance, I mean Haley and the hybrids for now. Because he shows up and he's like, oh, Chris, you were just leaving town, going somewhere? I feel like I told you to watch Elena and then you didn't. I told you not to let her out of your sight, which I'm like, you left her behind a closed door, so already he was out of her sight, but sure. And Tyler's like, no, it wasn't Chris's fault, it was me. If you're gonna kill anyone, you should kill me. And then Haley's like, no, I was the one who made Tyler do it. Kill me. And I'm like, look at them all falling on their swords. Klaus, you could never have this.
Yeah.
This is why Tyler ends up stealing your back.
Stealing's a strong word. I don't think
he ends up
acquiring.
Stealing in the sense that people are like, steal your girl.
Right. There is something to be said, though, about how easily Tyler wins over the pack, which speaks to how Klaus treats them.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's stealing if you're not nice to the people who are bound to you.
And even Haley, who claims to be willing to die in this scene, don't know how serious she was after everything we learn about her in the end, but she says, I'd rather die than end up as one of your sired little bitches.
Ooh. Okay, Miss Marshall.
And Klaus says, oh, don't tempt me, little wolf. Which is the first time he calls her that. For what that's worth.
A friend, lovely friend, sweet, sweet darling in high school, who fixated so much on the little wolf aspect that even through to the spin-off was convinced that Klaus and Haley were like a ship.
Oh, honey.
I was like,
no.
I don't know how to tell you this.
It's funny that it's framed as Klaus is like, well, in order to sacrifice one of my hybrids, which I don't want to do, Caroline must go on a date with me. And I'm like, but no, you also want this cure found. So you don't want Elena being suicidal and offering herself before she's cured and you get your doppelganger blood back. And also, Chris had unsired himself and quote unquote betrayed you. So you were going to kill him anyway. Honestly.
Yeah.
This date is a bonus deal.
I have no interest in any of this. I'm going to be very clear. I'm happy to fly
It's fine.
right past it.
It's fine. In the next episode, Stefan's working out in the woods all sexy, which is probably why Klaus shows up.
Thank you. That lifted my spirits again. I needed that.
He's upset because at this point, Stefan has told everyone else about the cure. But he's like, it's fine. We're going to find more vampires for Jeremy to kill so his hunter's mark can grow. Then he goes to see the love of his life, Caroline, at the Miss Mystic Falls pageant. They do their usual banter of like, you know, he acts charming and the script forgets he's a villain while she's like icy, but deep down she knows it's affecting her. He's like, when should I pick you up? And she's like, how about a quarter to never?
It's their banter. They're having
It's their
fun.
banter. Because like the show really wants to have its cake and eat it too. It's like Caroline will say things like, oh yeah, when I said a date, I meant like, you know, somewhere we don't have to talk, like a movie theater where I can put 3 seats between us. But then at the same time, they'll have all these tender moments in the episode where she's like, oh, would you ever take the cure, Klaus? And he's like, yes. One time I was trekking through the Andes and I saw a hummingbird and I was like, look at this small, delicate creature fighting for its life. It must be so satisfying to live another day as a mortal and know that you really accomplished something by staying alive. And that was the only time I ever wanted to be human.
As a Klaus moment, I do like that moment, independent of everything else. It is an interesting kind of view into who I would otherwise have assumed had no such, has said himself has had no such interest. It's nice to be like, hey, actually, there was a day in my long, long life where for a moment I was like, wow, that's cute. I like that.
Unfortunately, it only exists for the sake of Caroline.
Right.
Because
Which
never
is why,
again
like-
will Klaus entertain the idea of wanting to be mortal outside of connecting to Caroline in this scene.
But no, I don't want to be like, this is him currently wanting to be mortal. It does seem like he's saying there was a time at point. It's very similar to the initial Damon thing, which also never comes back, funnily enough. That scene in season 2 with Ashley or Julie, we meet her in that episode. She dies in that episode. I don't remember her name. Where he's like yo-yoing her life in the middle of the road because he's sad about some bullshit.
Yes.
And he's like, I hate being a vampire and I hate this experience. And it never comes back.
I always forget that scene because the writers did.
You're right. That scene is burned in my memory because I was so stunned to go back and find it.
I get lost in the Caroline of it all, unfortunately. Oh, this is also the episode where he shows up dressed in his suit. It's just after Caroline has been like micromanaging everyone else at the bus boys and the band. And he's like, and what about me? And then she's like, you're perfect.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what? Ew.
I mean, listen, because he's a conventionally attractive man in a perfectly tailored suit. Like, I'm not gonna act like...
Yeah,
you know.
yeah. It annoys me.
That's fair.
I think that's all that's him. This episode is just Caroline. For Klaus, it's just a bunch of Caroline stuff. It's very annoying.
Because they've introduced Professor Shane at this point, so he's largely the antagonistic force in this episode.
Yeah.
Oh, I remember us being so baffled as to why he was chaperoning this party. Because I was like, he doesn't live here. Why is he involved in the Mystic Falls Society stuff? It's because the pageant had a scholarship as a prize to Whitmore, is why he was here to award it. So that's why he's around for this event.
Oh, but also in the background, the hybrids are all inside at this point. So that's a thing.
Yes.
That comes up 2 episodes later in our Christmas special. Oh, come all ye faithful. They had their little non-denominal Yuletide event known as the Winter Wonderland Charity Event. I'm like, which charity? I don't know. Probably just the Lockwood Pockets, honestly. I love that Stefan comes to the Mikaelson Manor to find Klaus painting a big snowflake. The jokes write themselves. And Klaus tells Stefan, no, the painting is an expression of postmodernism. I didn't go to art school, so I have nothing to say about that.
You're closer to the arts than I am, so I've got no clue.
But Adrian, the last hybrid to be freed, comes in and Klaus is like, oh yes, Adrian, could you take this down to the Mystic Grill? It's what I'm donating to the charity event. And Adrian's like, you called me here to be an errand boy? That's what you wanted me here for? And Klaus is like, what I want is for you to do whatever I say without the attitude. And I was like,
Harriet Tubman would have clubbed Adrian over with an elbow, let me tell you that much. trying to get us killed. You get an ounce of freedom, and now you start talking back.
You know, he truly is the only hybrid who doesn't know how to pretend like he's still fighting to Klaus. Stefan tricks Klaus into revealing where he has hidden the hunter's sword so that he can come back later and look for it. But Klaus isn't dumb and doesn't leave it there once he leaves for the party.
Because why would I ever?
Later on, Klaus's other love interest gets to see his snowflake painting. It's Caroline. She's like staring at it at the grill, just like gazing at it, and then Klaus shows up. And she's like, oh, what are you doing here? You here to steal Tiny Tim's crutches?
Oh, Tiny Tim.
Ooh. And then Klaus says, oh, Charles Dickens was a dark man, implying that he knew him personally.
Yeah.
And then he says, Caroline would have liked him. And I guess this suggests that Caroline is drawn to the inherent allure of men with a dark side or something.
Which they will textually say in about 6 episodes.
They will!
God.
Caroline says, nice snowflake, by the way. And at first it seems to be a jibe, but then she's like, no, I'm being serious. Like, I think it looks kind of lonely. And I guess this is supposed to show us that she and she alone can really see Klaus, and that's why she gets his art. Because Stefan, for example, saw the image as literal and needed to have it explained to him.
Okay.
And he used to be Klaus's bestie, so yay for Caroline.
I'm especially annoyed by this because I'm watching a show right now that has a very similar dynamic, age and all, no supernatural elements. It's just this like 40-year-old man and this 20-year-old girl, and it's trying to be presented to me as romantic, and it's like he's this abject asshole, but she kind of sees him where nobody does, and it's like, I think everybody sees you, buddy. I think everyone knows you suck.
I'm glad you bring up the age thing, because in this scene, Klaus is like, do you want a drink? And she's like, oh no, I can't. Too many adult prying eyes. I don't want to become a high school cautionary tale. And I'm like, why are you reminding us that she's 18? And then Klaus says, well, then it's a good thing the high school part's nearly over. And I'm like, huh?
What?
Who wrote this?
Klaus. That was the quiet part. You can't say that. You can't say that, old vampire.
It's so bad. I'm like, what? Klaus has a calendar in his mansion counting down the days until she graduates. Oh, no. Ah, gosh. Weirdly, this charms her. And then she's like, yeah, or at least she pretends to be charmed. She is also like texting Stefan and being like, yeah, Klaus is here, he's distracted, snoop around for the sword.
Dope.
On Stefan's end of things, that's when he finds something I'd completely forgotten about. Klaus's little letters that he's kept from his dead victims over the years.
What?
Yeah, I completely forgot this. Stefan goes into Klaus's safe and finds a bunch of letters that Klaus has that belong to other people. These aren't letters he wrote or received.
Okay.
This is like if I killed you and kept letters that your mom sent you.
Oh,
like Klaus has a bunch of letters
God.
from victims over the years that he just has stored somewhere.
That's like cartoonishly evil.
I fully forgot that this was a thing. I was like, what the hell? It's never brought up again. I don't think it's brought up in the spin-off. It's not a thing beyond the conversation.
He has a trophy drawer. That's basically like a trophy room. It's like all my kills and the mementos I have. It's like, no wonder he thought Stefan's like writing a name on the wall.
It is brought up later on when Stefan's like, oh, I was looking for the sword at your place, couldn't find it, but I found all your letters. And Klaus is like, oh, well, it's the letters of my victims really so different from writing their names on a wall.
Yes! It's the exact opposite, I would say.
Then the insanity of how this conversation then develops. Also, I'd like to say, funny that at the start of season 3, Klaus is like, oh, Stefan, before he returns his memories, he's like, we were best friends. I'll prove it. You told me about your little murder board. Only true kindred spirits would share such things. And here we have proof that he did not extend Stefan the same courtesy.
Yeah.
Elsewhere in the episode, the hybrids are, enacting their plan that we've discussed in the Tyler episode to put Klaus into Tyler's body and bury him in cement while the other hybrids escape. Haley is obviously tricking them all, and when she snaps Caroline's neck, that allows April Young to discover her dead body until she wakes up and spills the beans, and April Young hears about where Rebecca is and finds out about the supernatural. But
It's so stupid how that happens, and I hate it.
But as part of their plan to ambush Klaus, I guess they were already supposed to tell him that something was up, because Haley, this is not part of the plan as far as I know, but Haley's like, okay, I need to improvise, I need to change things. She goes to Klaus, and we don't hear the conversation, but assumedly tells him, your hybrids have been unsired. For some reason, I'm going to convince you not to kill me. But yeah, your hybrids have been unsired. I guess you're angry now. Feel free to go kill them all, which is secretly what I want. But after that conversation, Adrian shows up while Stefan is talking to Klaus and sees Klaus, allows Klaus to see him. Klaus looks angry, and then Adrian walks away and is like, yes, I'm leading him into the trap. So I'm like, so was part of the initial plan that Klaus was supposed to know you were unsired? How else were you going to lure him into the trap like you're doing now?
I don't know, actually.
Because I don't think Adrian would have heard Haley's conversation. Otherwise, it would have been like, why the hell is Haley outing us? So he must have just come there, seen Klaus, and been like, Klaus, look at me. I'm here. I'm walking away. Come find me.
I guess the intention is maybe that scene of like appearing in, but why wouldn't he just walk up to Klaus and say, Mr. Klaus, there's something we need to discuss. Can you come with me? It's weird to like.
He didn't want to interrupt Klaus while he was talking.
Yeah, I guess so. We have to be like, it was a respect thing. He was like, I can't disturb Mr. Klaus's conversation. So from a distance, I'm like, wink, wink. There's something we need to discuss, and then head off, assuming he'll follow. I don't know.
You know what? Well brought up, boy. But yeah, after Klaus says it's no different from your little murder rituals, Ripper, he whispers the name like it's a. I wrote down here, I said, oh, get over it, Nick. Your ex-boyfriend is not coming back. And then I said, you know who else was desperate for their bad boy playmate from days gone by? Another bad boy who went by the nickname Ripper. Ethan Rayne, the college bestie of Rupert Giles from Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
That's so true. Actually. I am so, as you well know, Fadzai, I know. I am very interested in Ethan Rayne and Rupert Giles and the truth of that history that the show was very much hinting at, in my opinion, but couldn't fully get into.
Listen, it was college. They were on a lot of drugs. I'm sure something happened.
At base level, it's like a Sebastian Shaw, Black King situation where it's like orgies out the wazoo, things slip into places you don't expect them to, and you're not too mad about it. But I believe it was a bit more conscious than that. There's a scene in season 3 when they're drunk at a restaurant, and if you've seen Buffy, you know what I'm talking about. Anyway, I'm getting off track.
But anyway, before Adrian leads Klaus away, he turns back to Stefan and he says to him, loneliness is the reason the two of them memorialize their dead. Oh, okay. And he says, there's the briefest of moments before we kill, where we literally hold their life in our hands, and then we rip it away and we're left with nothing. So gathering other people's letters or writing their names on a wall, it's a reminder that in the end, we are infinitely and utterly alone.
Jesus.
And I was like, all right.
Oh. Where did that come from? That's honestly just okay.
Klaus would have loved season 1 Jeremy. Honestly,
frankly,
similar playlists, I think.
God, let's put on some Pierce the Veil or something.
All right, Klaus, I get it. You're lonely, but it's weird that you're framing the victims of yours and Ripper Stefan's murders as being proof that you are more alone. I'm like, maybe here's some easy maths for you, Klaus. The more people you kill,
right,
the fewer people there are in the world to save you from your loneliness.
I'm going to tell you something, Klaus. I think Stefan's Ripper situation, where he literally cannot stop doing this, is a little bit different. I'm very happy you're having a sudden and honestly surprising moment of self-awareness here, but I do have to say, slight difference. Wow, that is stunning to me. Good for you.
Klaus Mikaelson. Slam poetry.
All right, Klaus Mikaelson exploring his demons through art. I guess it tracks.
Snaps fingers.
Snaps for Klaus Mikaelson, everyone.
Anyway, Klaus then slaughters his hybrids.
Right.
While Haley tells Tyler the truth. Mood whiplash. I guess the point is, he's like, yeah, I'm alone, and that's why I kill, but I'm also alone because I kill. And then he's like, look at my hybrids who betrayed me by emancipating themselves. Gonna go butcher all of them now, I guess.
God, can't find anyone these days. I guess it's just me again. Damn. Dude.
To an eerie cover of Oh Holy Night by the Carey Brothers. A scene I watch so many times that whenever I sing that cover of the song, my mother's like, I can just picture people being slaughtered by that Klaus man from your show.
You told me this and I was like, oh my God. goodness.
Kills them all, decapitates, what's her face? Kim.
Kim, yes.
I
Solicity
guess
ass.
April Young is lurking in the shadows while all this is happening because she's already in the Lockwood cellar where he kills Kim.
Always in
And where
places
Rebecca's body is stored.
She simply should not be, and it is wildly contrived that she is there. And always acting in ways that don't make sense. April, when I catch you... God.
Her POV, she heard someone say Rebecca's body is in the Lockwood cellar.
Right.
And she was okay, let me go to the Lockwood cellar and see what that's about.
She knocked on a bathroom door, tried to open it, and then found it was blocked and was like, oh, okay, I guess it's occupied. And then pushed it again. Voyeur.
Found a dead body on the floor, checked it so it had no pulse, started to panic, then the body rose from the dead,
right.
Made a phone call and said a bunch of crazy stuff, then turned, looked her in the eye and told her to forget everything she'd seen, and then she was like,
what?
Oh, no, why would I? And she's like, okay, I'll just pretend that I did, and then I'll walk away. Then walked to the woods where the old Lockwood property was, went into the Lockwood cellar where she'd heard Rebecca's body was. I guess she hadn't seen Rebecca in a few days. Found a coffin, opened that coffin. No, she didn't open it. She found a coffin, then suddenly heard a commotion outside as Klaus was slaughtering his hybrids. Stayed hidden in the shadows as Kim dragged her wounded, bloody ass into the cellar.
Saw Kim?
Stayed in the shadows as Klaus came and decapitated Kim and then left.
Oh, God.
Because she's there when Kim dies.
Oh my god. Okay, I take back what I said about the insanity of pulling the dagger out of Rebecca. I think if you witness someone get decapitated, nothing you do is going to be normal.
Then she opens the coffin, finds a gray, dried up body with a dagger in its chest, and then yanks it out.
She's seen one person come back from the dead. Why not two? You know?
Unable to locate Tyler, Klaus just kills Carol Lockwood. And I'm like, you see, after all her maneuvering, all her peace talks,
for nothing,
all her ceasefires, he ultimately was like, yeah, but you're human, and you are a pawn in the games of supernatural creatures. So, gotta kill you, sorry.
And
Nothing
she tried
personal.
twice with him. Season 3, and then again, you say in Season 4. It's just like, damn, Carol.
The next episode, Cole comes back to town because Rebecca has been undaggered and immediately decides to be a mean girl. Because now she's angry at Stefan as well. It's not just Elena.
Right. But at least the Stefan one is better because it makes, like, it's important stuff that has happened. It is a betrayal that's, like, very, very personal because he used her affection for him and respect for him in tandem with her brother, who has violated her so many times, and then watched as he daggered her.
Yeah.
So that's real. That matters. And that's, like, interesting to me.
She kidnaps Stefan, Elena, Caroline, takes them to the school, forces them into a compelled therapy session where at first she's asking about the cure and how their quest for that is going. She's got April there as her little helper because she's told April, quote unquote, the truth. And now April is on her side because, quote unquote, Rebecca's the only honest person in this town.
Gotta be honest, that storyline means nothing to me and I don't care.
But she's supposed to be interrogating them about the cure, and then she suddenly segues into Stelena drama because she doesn't know that they broke up while she was daggered.
Right. She said, oh.
She senses tension. Caroline's like, they broke up, okay? And she's like, no, let's unpack this. She forces them to be brutally honest with each other in all sorts of hurtful ways.
Yeah.
Cole shows up halfway through because during this interrogation, they've told her that Professor Shane knows what the cure is. Cole shows up in town, kidnaps Shane from right under Bonnie's nose, comes to school with Shane, and Rebecca's like, okay, cool. Let's interrogate Atticus Shane and find out what he knows. Shane is like, compulsion doesn't work on me. So Rebecca's like, okay, cool. Cole, torture him. I'll be right back. Goes back to dig up some more Selena drama.
Literally walks away from the main plot to go do teen drama bullshit. Rebecca!
She says so many wild things in this episode. When she finds out that Elena is now leaning towards the Damon side of things, she's like, okay, so Elena's a trollop who likes bad boys. Like, so what? And I'm like, oh,
both
a trollop?
you.
Bad boy? You slept with Damon twice in one season and you didn't even like him.
Both of you, Rebecca. That's crazy. I guess maybe that's what she's saying. She's like, okay, finally down here with me. Now.
She also calls Tyler to come to the school and she's like, yeah, your girlfriend's here. I'm going to kill her if you don't show up. And once he gets there, she's like, well, actually, I lied. I've dug up enough drama. I've hurt Stefan's feelings. She's gotten Elena to admit that she's no longer in love with Stefan, even though some of the love is still there. And she's like, oh, Stefan, did it hurt to have someone thrust a metaphorical dagger in your heart,
All right.
or welcome to the last 1,000 years of my life.
All right.
And I was like, do you mean Klaus or Alexander or both? I'm not sure. But then she compels Tyler to turn and attack the vampires, who she has compelled to run around if they want to, but they can't leave the school and they can't use vamp speed.
Which, I guess that's fun. I don't know why Tyler's in it. He was busy grieving.
Because he's a werewolf and his bite will kill them.
Like
She's like, I don't need you guys anymore.
You could have armed the vampires with stakes and set the exact same terms and have them go after each other, because she's compelling all of them. Tyler was just an extra spice to add that I feel like was cruel, because he's grieving his dead mom. I guess she doesn't know that.
She's like, that's got nothing to do with me. I was dead in a box.
She said, get out of my face. I'm grieving the last couple months that I lost, I guess.
Atticus Shane, who lets the spirit of, what was his name, Slater? Slater possess him for a second, is like, oh my gosh, Cole and Rebecca Mikaelson. I'm geeking out so much. Under duress is eventually like, well, no, I don't actually care about the cure. I just want Silas, who's buried with it. Cole is like, Silas? Why did you say that name? Why did you say that name?
Alarm bells, DEFCON 1 spinning immediately.
And he's like, oh no, you need to die immediately. Rebecca's like, no man, Silas doesn't exist. I know who he is, but he's a boogeyman. Cole is like, nope. Killing Shane right away. Cole tries to kill him, but thankfully Bonnie's expression protection magic saves his life. Rebecca's like, Cole, no fair. You killed the guy I needed to get the cure I want. Also, Rebecca claims, I think it's in this episode, she claims at this point that she only wants the cure so that she can force feed it to Klaus and make him mortal.
Yes.
Cole is like, well, you should be thanking me because Silas will unleash hell on earth. As he pronounces it, hell on earth. And then he's like, by the way, I swiped the white oak steak, which was really easy because you've been slacking. The only other interesting thing that Rebecca does is once she finds out they've survived, the Tyler thing, she goes back to Stelena and is like, oh, you guys are still alive. Why do my least favorite people always have to be the most durable? She says, hey, Elena, if you want, I could compel Stefan to just like forget all about you so you don't have to feel bad for breaking his heart. All those memories could go away. And Elena's like, no, that's crazy. And Stefan's like, okay, do it. And then she's like, no, I was bluffing. I refuse to make you forget her the way Klaus made you forget about me in the 1920s. So I was like, there's something there, but also you wanted to just drive a rift between these two.
That's a secondary effect. The core thing is that now Elena knows Stefan wanted that.
Episode 11 is just basically Klaus just getting all these newly turned newbie vamps to go after Jeremy so that he can complete his hunter's mark. But then Cole strolls into town and kills them all.
Yeah. Slaughters all of them, walking into that bar, and he's just sitting there, and
just kills them all.
Vampires are dead.
Damon and Jeremy like, wait, what happened? They're all dead. And Cole's like, I confess, it was me.
This is the only era of the show that I kind of like Cole, because he's entertaining.
At least.
Season 3 couldn't stand his ass. This specific, just the whole just like showing up and messing up their little plans is really fun.
But he's like, yeah, it was a bit overcrowded when I got here. I prefer more intimate gatherings.
I hate how good you are at doing his voice. I try so hard and I can't quite get it.
I guess it's the tangential Australian essence.
You absorbed it a little bit while you were there.
But he basically tells them, yeah, Klaus was bragging about getting Jeremy to grow the hunter's mark, so I tracked down the newbie vamps and slaughtered them because I do not want Silas waking up. And Damon's like, look, I don't know about Silas and I do not care. I barely believe he exists. This is just about the cure. Cole explains that centuries ago he came across a cult that worshipped Silas.
Fun.
And they said that he would rise again someday, but according to this cult, it would trigger the end of all time. And he's like, as an immortal, I imagine you can see why I'm opposed to time ending. I'm not going to let you guys continue your quest, neither you nor Klaus. He tries to appeal to Jeremy, like some semblance of, I guess, lingering friendship. Mates. And I'm like, are you forgetting that you weren't really friends?
Don't you remember a time in the batting cages in Denver, Colorado? Come on now.
But Jeremy's like, yeah, we're not friends, mate. And I'm not going to stop looking for this cure because I want to save my sister from vampirism. So then Cole's like, okay, I could just kill you, but then I don't fancy dealing with the hunter's curse for another century. He's like, oh, I know. I'll just rip off your arms instead.
Valid. Actionable solution.
Damon attacks Cole so Jeremy's able to get away. Elsewhere, Rebecca and Stefan are starting to get close. It's an odd sort of era considering the episode they just had. But they're like, oh, let's be in cahoots together because we're kind of angry at everybody else in our lives right
Yeah.
now.
They've
So I
both been
guess-
burned by their brothers specifically too, so that's also how it kind of, the roads come together.
Yes. It's that we both hate our brothers. I think that's what Stefan might have said to her at the end of the last episode, actually. They snoop around Professor Shane's office while he's not there. They find some weed.
Yeah. It's a very
Rebecca describes it as his
weird
herbs,
episode.
and I'm like, this is weed.
It's so crazy to be like, Stefan and Rebecca get together and get high. That's cool.
But she's like, hey, want to smoke some? And then Stefan's like, no. And she goes, ugh, you were way more fun in the 20s. What happened to you? And Stefan's like, I was a psychotic killer with no emotions. And Rebecca corrects him and she's like, no, you may have been a killer, but you were far from emotionless.
I was going to say, that's not correct.
She reminisces about like the fun times they used to have, and she pushes Stefan to admit that he was actually enjoying himself back then. And then he's like, okay, yeah, sure, I guess I kind of was. They get high. Stefan is still like looking around. Rebecca's like chilling and like pointing out several exotic objects in the room. And Stefan's like, how do you know what these things are? And she's like, well, I enjoy other cultures, Stefan.
Right.
I know you find that hard to understand considering you dated a child who only thinks about herself. And I'm like, damn!
Just cackled so loud. My neighbors are gonna come knocking down my door.
This will be Rebecca for the rest of the season. She is the voice of Elena Hate. The writers were not even like really trying to come up with dialogue for her. They were just scrolling through Tumblr
Right.
and all the online spaces saying, what do all the Elena's haters say about her? She's selfish. She is childish. She's a bad match for Stefan. Everything is about her. She's boring and
I can't imagine anyone who was an Elena hater was framing it as on behalf of Stefan. I cannot imagine that's true.
Well, maybe bitter Stelena shippers now that she's with Damon, perhaps. I
Oh,
don't-
no, you're so right. A lot of people did sort of go, well, oh, Elena hopped to the other brother, that whore, I hate her now. And I'm like, I think there are bigger forces at work here, narratively speaking, but, you know, okay. Unlike intellectual me, who was like season 5 after all this nonsense, when her character changes, seemingly because of her relationship with Damon, and it's like, babe, now I can't support you.
Gosh. Rebecca is in her all love is doomed, it's easy not to care era. And she says not caring is what made her and Stefan work so well in the 20s, recalling the parties and the drunken nights and the amazing sex. And Stefan says, no, the sex wasn't good because of our lack of caring. It was good because you're crazy. And crazy sex is always good.
I hate this episode so much.
I think the energy that Cole brought to the show by coming back made everyone else insane.
It has poisoned the well in this town. I find it so uncomfortable. I understand he's in a rebound era. She's just come back and has burned on her brother. So, of course, it's going to get a little weird. But Stefan feels so... I don't know. Hey, have your fun, man.
Wild.
Do what you need to do.
She says Stefan was hardly the model of sanity, and they seem to be like almost about to kiss. And then some random man comes in to get Ketsia Stone from its hiding spot. So we're like, yay, thanks for finding it for us. They grab him, tie him up, torture him to get some info, but he's been compelled and is on Vervain. So he won't spill secrets to them, but also he is, I guess, forced to make sure he doesn't spill secrets at all, bites out his own tongue, then grabs a knife and kills himself in front of them.
Jesus. I'm trying to... Oh, yes. Okay, I remember. I was like, what is this storyline? Now I remember what it is.
Yeah. Rebecca says, your bastard brother or mine? And I'm like, it's insane you think Damon would be behind
Damon's not that smart. Also, Damon has to pretend to be somewhat nice now because he's with Elena.
And he's dealing with Cole.
That too. But like, if you are compelled and then take Vervain, does the compulsion that happened just before still hold?
It still holds.
That sucks.
That's why Catherine was stuck in Alara's apartment at the end of season 2.
Right, of course. That's awful.
Elsewhere, Jeremy calls Elena and is like, yeah, Cole is trying to kill me. Elena goes to Klaus and is like, can you control your baby brother? Like, please. And then Klaus is like, I like that you're in your deal-making mode with me, but let's not pretend you have some insane, enormous leverage over me, because I don't like that. I like to be the most powerful person in the room. I'm just going to point out that I don't only want the cure to get your doppelganger blood, I also want to get rid of it so it can't be used against me. But then he does call Cole, and he's like, Cole, you've been back in town for just 5 minutes and you're already causing trouble. And Cole is like, I'm just having a bit of fun, Nick. Klaus is like, okay, why'd you kill those vampires? They were for my hunter. I love how as soon as a supernatural being exists in this world, it's Klaus.
It's Klaus.
My doppelganger.
My
hunter.
These poor Gilberts at his mercy. Pisses me off.
Cole is like, well, you can always make more, I guess. There's no shortage of people. And then Klaus asks where Damon is, and Cole says, no, I gave him a good and proper beating, but he's fine. And then, I love it, Cole uses Klaus's own fine print tactics against him. When Klaus is like, okay, leave Jeremy Gilbert alone, or you'll find yourself back in a box. It's like, okay, no need to be nasty about it. And it's like, on the contrary, I find nastiness to be essential whenever my siblings try to sabotage me. Cole is like, okay, I swear I won't touch him.
I won't touch him.
And hangs up. And then it's like, cool, Damon.
Move from Cole. Took all the shrewdness Rebecca was meant to have and absorbed it for the season.
He stole it when he stole the white oak steak from her. He compels Damon and he's like, you're not going to remember this because a sleeper agent is a bit more useful, but you're going to find Jeremy Gilbert and then you're going to kill him. But until you do see him, you're going to be unaware that I gave you this instruction. Elena informs Stefan about what's going on. She calls Stefan but gets Rebecca on the phone because Rebecca picks up. And Rebecca's like, oh, okay, well, I guess Cole is now going to foil my plans too because I also want the cure and he's trying to get Jeremy dead so no one can find it. So she goes to confront him when he's on his way out. This is when she's like, Cole, Nick will be angry if Damon succeeds in killing Jeremy when you promise to leave him alone. And Cole is like, well, loophole. So she whips out a dagger and is like, I will dagger you, Cole. We've never ever done this to each other. It's always been Klaus doing it to us, but I am prepared to dagger you. And he's like, wow, really? And she's like, it would break the compulsion on Damon and keep Jeremy safe. I'll do what I have to do. And then Cole says, then you're no better than Nick Klaus. Daggering siblings when you disagree with them. Look at what this family has become. I mean, Elijah won't even show his face. He's so disgusted by our bickering.
Funny.
This cure has ruined us, and it hasn't even been found yet. Just imagine what would happen if it is. And then Rebecca's like, girl, our family was ruined long before we knew about this cure. Don't be silly. Yep. And Cole is like, okay, cool. Whips out the white oak steak, prepares to kill her.
Immediately escalates.
For good and for proper.
100 times. Like, oh God. How far we have
thankfully
stepped down, not even fallen. Y'all are walking down those stairs, guys.
Just seconds after being like, look at us, look what we've become. Elijah won't even show up. We're a mess. Is this who we are, Rebecca? Is this who you want to be? You want to be like Klaus? And she's like, well, in this instance, yes. And he's like, okay, cool, then I'll kill you. I'll kill you for good.
God.
Thankfully, Klaus comes in and saves her, but Cole manages to vamp speed away. And she's like, my gosh, she was going to really kill me. And then Klaus says, well, maybe you need a lesson in how to properly dagger a sibling. And Rebecca's like, oh, burn in hell. And storms out.
Piss me off.
The only other thing that happens of note is that Stefan and Rebecca finally hook up, but they say it's no strings attached, emotionless sex. No caring, no feeling.
Scenario.
And Elena's like, hey, Jeremy, if we kill Cole, not only is he no longer a threat, but we can speedrun this growing of the Hunter's Mark thing because his entire sire line will die with him. Gone is that conversation I had at the beginning of the season where Stefan convinced me killing Rebecca would be something I'd regret because thousands of innocent vampires would die with her.
Right. But as I've noted before, this happens directly after she's forbidden from seeing Damon in their sire bond era. So I do think some of that energy is involved.
But as I always point out, it was already as early as season 3 when they were like, we'll kill 3 of the remaining 4.
Certainly. So, there was a conception. But now that it's like, we're gonna do it on the off chance that it grows the mark, even though we didn't directly kill those cascading deaths of vampires. It's like, girl, we're gonna risk all of that on this just to see a boy toy? God, this is crazy.
A View to a Kill is the episode in which Cole meets his end. On Rebecca's side of things, Stefan tries to sneak out, doing his walk of shame, and then finds Klaus in the doorway of Rebecca's place. He's like,
God. This whole dynamic is too close for me. I don't know how they do it.
Klaus, for once, doesn't act jealous over either of them. He's just like, yeah, Cole is still at large. And get this, Rebecca, he stole the last of my daggers and ran away with them.
Right.
And then Rebecca's like, oh, poor Nick. However will you get your way without your precious daggers? They were so handy whenever you wanted to end a conversation with one of us.
No.
And Klaus says, yeah, well, anyway, I need you to give me the dagger that you had yesterday when you almost daggered him so that I can put him down. And she's like, I'm not giving you that dagger.
Not. You're nonsense.
She's like, not only is it a weakness that can be used against me, I can also use it as protection from Cole in case he comes back. Because remember, he tried to kill me last night.
In case you forgot, because you've already gone back to thinking it's all about you.
She goes to shower and Klaus immediately says, okay, fine, Stefan, can you just talk to her and like get her to give me the dagger? Like you're so good with her in ways that I can't be. Remember, we're all on the same side here.
God.
I'm just like, why are you always using Stefan to get through to your sister?
Because it
Maybe
works.
If you actually worked on your relationship with her.
Imagine going through this one guy y'all have known for like, I don't know, 6 months total, then talking to your own sibling? Crazy.
He's like, nah, I know what her weakness is.
Yep.
It's men she loves. So, Stefan, you're up. Damon is all chained up in this episode. Stefan slips him some vervain water and then leaves Klaus to watch over him.
Wild.
Elena is like, hey, Stefan, I have a plan to kill Cole. I just need you to help because it's going to be a bit of a tricky thing to do. He is quite powerful. We plan to use Bonnie to help us because she's hyped up on expression magic right now. And then Stefan's like, okay, what about Klaus and Rebecca, who will absolutely kill all of us if we do that? And she's like, no, that's the plan. You're going to keep Rebecca busy. Call Matt and get him to dagger her, and then we'll take care of Cole. And Stefan's like, okay,
sure.
Kind of not feeling it, but sure, whatever. They get Cole to come over. Jeremy leaves to go find Bonnie while Elena tries to stall Cole, talking about, we're going to make a truce. So I'm willing to give up the cure because you've convinced me Silas is dangerous enough that I shouldn't raise him. And Cole is like, I have? And then she's like, yeah, but also at the same time, why do you believe in him when your siblings don't?
Right.
Like, you've all been alive.
Which is a good move. Get him talking. He likes to hear himself speak.
Cole is like, well, unlike some members of my family, I hold witches in high esteem. And I used to run in some witch circles, Africa, just Africa, the continent, Africa in the 14th century, Haiti in the 17th century, New Orleans in the 1800s, or was it 1900s? And he's like, they all agreed that Silas should stay buried. And it's like, oh, okay. You lived in New Orleans, though?
And he's like, yes, my whole family was there at the turn of the century. Until, obviously Klaus tagged me and let me rot for 100 years. And then he asks,
why? What did you do? And he's so offended by that question. Like, his face drops and he's like, what makes you think I did anything?
Right. What makes you think Klaus needs a reason?
He's like, Klaus is a monster. I hope your alliance with him hasn't softened you to his horrors. And she's like, no, I don't have an alliance. We just had a mutual interest in finding the cure, but I'm willing to give it up. And eventually Cole is suspicious of her the entire time.
Yes.
Because she's like sneak texting Jeremy, being like, where's Bonnie?
Not
Sneak
super
texting
subtle.
Stefan, like, have you daggered Rebecca yet? And eventually he's like, okay, cool, I'm going to dip. I'll take it under consideration. As soon as he leaves, Jeremy comes back and is like, yeah, I couldn't find Bonnie, man. Don't know where she is because Bonnie's in her own plot right now. Then Cole comes right back and is like, hi, I've considered your request for a truce. Request denied.
Because he's around the corner as Jeremy's like, sorry I couldn't come back to help you with our plan to kill Cole. What a shame. It's just like, oh no, guys. This is a struggle, bud.
They try to shut the door on him, but obviously he's already gotten his invite. He's like, oh, sorry, I've already been invited in.
Boom, kicks the door.
And then he chases them throughout the house, does briefly manage to pin Elena down and is about to lob off Jeremy's arms. When Elena frees herself, gets the drop on him, they weaken him with some vervain water.
And you've got the municipal system on your side. All things are possible.
Can't relate, we're South African.
What is service delivery? Never heard of her.
They manage to get the steak off him, and Jeremy stakes him with the white oak steak. Before this happens, though, as Cole is chasing them through the house, he does take a moment to phone Klaus, who he incorrectly assumes is in on the plan. And he's like, so you got your little doppelganger and your little hunter to try and ambush me. And Klaus is like, huh? What are you talking about, dude? I don't know what, I was going to dagger you, but I don't know what you're talking about. And he's like, no, I'm going to murder them both. Well, no, I'm not going to kill Jeremy because Hunter's cuss. I'm going to cut off his arms, but I will kill Elena. Just for just, I'm going to kill her. And then when I'm done, I'm coming after you with the white oak steak. So Klaus leaves Damon and he turns up at the Gilbert house as they kill Cole.
He's standing in the doorway with this really I don't even know how to describe his expression. His eyes are wide, but his brows are flat, and his mouth is flat. He's just staring at his dead body. I was
That's
like,
actually perfect.
what
His
is
eyes are
this?
wide, but his brows are flat. That's so good. He has tears in his eyes, and I'm like, because canonically right now, Finn is on the other side. I know that right now, Finn is on the other side and is like, wow, when I died, you made jokes.
But when it's the timeline fave, now you got tears to shed, huh? Okay. I see how
When
it
is the timeline fame? Elena, it's so funny. It's funny to watch Elena be like, oh shit, Klaus was not meant to see that.
Yeah.
I don't know what her plan was, because they were meant to dagger Rebecca, but I was like, yeah, but then what were you going to do with Klaus? And she's like, Klaus, wait, let me explain. We had no choice. He came here, he was going to cut off Jeremy's arms. I was like, no, you lured him here into a trap. And then they're like, well, yes, but you said yourself that you were going to take care of him and put him down because he's been getting in the way of our plans. And he's like, I was going to dagger him. His exact words are, I was going to make him suffer on my terms. And I'm like, I love it.
It's like,
That's so Klaus. It's so Klaus to be like, no, I'm allowed to abuse my siblings the way I see fit. You guys are not to lay a finger on.
Right. Quintessential. That is a very common thread, though, where it's like with villains who have some characters that are like connected to them, endeared to them in some way, where it's like, I may treat you like shit, but nobody's gonna lay a finger on you. And it's like, oh, yeah, I guess that's
Nobody hurts my little brother but me.
right. It's like, I guess a little glimmer. But I guess maybe they were hoping he didn't care enough, because they know about the Always and Forever trio. Maybe they were hoping he didn't care about Cole enough to be like, we needed to kill him for this plan that you want to succeed, because you want that doppelganger blood too.
I think they were also hoping that they were too valuable to Klaus to sacrifice, because he's like, no, I'm gonna burn down this little house of yours, and when you two flee for your lives, I'll kill you without blinking. And Cole is like, no. If you kill Elena, you'll never be able to cure her and make more hybrids. And then Klaus is like, girl, I don't give... He claims.
Right. This is a big, right? Because this is a 180.
He's like, I don't give a damn about my bloody hybrids. The only reason I really want the cure is to make sure you can't use it on me. I was going to kill you all the second we dug it up. And I was like, wait.
Since when?
So maybe after the hybrids betrayed him on Christmas Eve, he was like, it's not worth it.
That has changed things, I guess. Okay. Because I was going to be like, this whole... I cannot deal with that. I truly would hate to have to deal with this man in real life. My God. I don't have the time or the energy to dance around the shifts and change in your moods and your motivations, my man.
I will say, underneath it all, it is sweet that despite how irritating Cole is to him and how he was literally going to punish him, he is genuinely very heartbroken that his little brother is dead. Bonnie comes in and saves them by magically sealing Klaus in the living room. They take the white oak steak and they leave.
Yeah, it's pretty iconic because he's very ready to kill them, and then Bonnie shows up and is just like, invite him in. Invite him in now. She just pushes him. He's like ranting and raving. He's like, I will not be healed by lesser. And she's just like, expression magic.
She's like telekinetically dragging him. He's like, you can't do this to me. And she's like, you have no idea what I can do now.
It to you now. You are in the room. You're sealed. That's it. It's over. Let's go to Nova Scotia, bitch.
At the end of the episode, we see that Stefan actually tells Rebecca Cole is dead.
Yes.
She cries for a bit, and she's like, oh my gosh, you knew the whole night. Because Stefan, on Stefan's side of things, they have this nice conversation because they're at this 80s dance that didn't really get to happen because of another curfew. Right. So they're just like dancing at the school by themselves at this decade dance. And they speak about all the 80s tropes and friendship and love and all these things. And then he's like explaining to her all the stuff she missed by being asleep that decade. And then she admits that, okay, I guess I kind of do like this stuff. Like, that's why I want the cure for me, not just to kill Klaus. I want to be a normal human girl, and I want to grow old with someone who loves me enough to stand outside my window with a stupid boombox. Like, ugh, fine, whatever. I have a heart. Okay. There's a moment where a balloon pops randomly and Stefan like flinches, and she's like, don't worry, if Cole shows up to kill you, I've got my dagger here.
Aww.
It's on me, the dagger that you were looking for. I'll protect you. So Stefan, I guess, has a change of heart because as Matt is sneaking around waiting to get this dagger and dagger,
yes!
he's like,
shakes his head.
I can't do it.
Yeah, I remember.
It's also because Rebecca voluntarily gives him the dagger. She's like, here, I know this is what you want. Right. You want a dagger, Cole and put him down. Fine, let's do it. Let's get the cure. So at the end of the episode, she's like, you betrayed me because the whole episode you were already planning to like kill my brother properly. He easily sweet talks her way too quickly. He's like, no. Like, yes, I'm sorry Cole is dead, but this was what we needed to do to get the cure. And I want you to get the cure. I want you to get it for you, not just for Elena. I want it for me, and I want you to get it for you so that you can have all those things that you've always wanted from a human life. And she's like, okay, I guess that's fine. And she's done mourning Cole.
I mean, I was gonna say, he does make a good argument, but also, yeah, Cole just got killed by these people, so that is a bit wild. I don't know. I guess Cole did try to kill her, so...
I guess. Yeah, that's fair. Anyway, Cole's sire line dies and Jeremy's mark is complete. We go to Nova Scotia in episode 13, Into the Wild. This episode is basically just, for Rebecca's point of view, it's just Rebecca being catty to Elena for a whole episode.
God.
She's not a girl's girl. She's dragging Elena at every opportunity.
As we were gonna go into it, I was like, oh yeah, the race to the cure is largely Rebecca and Klaus is locked in a room. And then, oh wait, no, Rebecca's not really doing anything for the race to the cure, now that I remember.
Yeah, she's like openly antagonistic towards her. She claims that I guess her hatred to Elena has increased ever since Elena killed her brother.
Okay.
But I'm like, I feel like you were already her number one hater.
Yeah, it's
then,
not like the
and
level
you kind of don't care about Cole.
Is any different from like earlier in the season pre your daggering, so I don't know if that's...
Not to mention, she has nothing to say to Jeremy, the person who actually
killed
delivered the killing blow. She antagonizes Elena to the point where Elena is prepared to white oak stake her again.
Valid. At this point, it's getting silly.
On the Klaus side of things, Tyler shows up to gloat because obviously he and Caroline have been left behind in the B plot and on the island with everyone else. I guess Matt is also in town, but he's working probably.
But why would he be on the island? That's nonsense. He has a job to keep. He will die. Well, he won't die, he's immortal, but there's always the concern.
He doesn't have the ring yet.
No, just by virtue of being Matt Donovan.
Oh, I see.
He will not die.
Tyler shows up to gloat because Klaus is trapped in the Gilbert's living room. Klaus resorts to his usual violent, villainous threats. Tyler's like, cool, yeah, whatever. I'm gonna force feed you that cure once we get it. I'm gonna make you a mortal werewolf that I can kill. And Klaus is like, well, actually, I'm an original vampire, so how do you know curing me won't spread that effect across my bloodline the same way killing me would? You might just cure everyone, including yourself, and then you'll go back to being a werewolf. And what then, Tyler? What then? Tyler's like, no, that doesn't make any sense. I think when I cure you, it'll just be you. And in fact, your sire line will be free of you, so I can kill you without hurting anybody else. I'm just trying to decide how to do it. Klaus is like, okay, fine. Might I suggest drowning then? There's nothing quite like feeling someone fighting for something as simple as the human desire to breathe. And your mother was a fighter. And I was like, wow.
I see that clip trending very often and everyone being like, oh, Klaus Mikaelson, cold, whatever, like Tyler's this and that, but he'll never stand up to the king. And I'm like, yeah, I guess, sure, but he did just kill his mother. That's what he's referencing. It's kind of messed up.
Yeah, he's terrible. Also, I don't think of Klaus as badass. It's easy to be badass when you have one weakness in all the
So
world.
this is the thing.
Nobody can kill you.
Everyone thinks Klaus is such a badass. It's like, yeah, I would be too if no one could kill me.
Yeah.
I'd be really cocky too if I had certainty I could not be threatened. But fair.
Like the minute Esther popped out of that coffin, he was petrified.
Right, because there's somebody who could actually take him down. I mean, it's nobody cares that much about Tyler, so it makes sense that like that's the angle of the concern for the scene. So, but I'm like, well, now that I care about Tyler, I'm like, But
that night, Caroline comes over and she's like, Tyler, why are you here? And he's like, I'm gloating, girl. And she's like, no, Tyler, be better than this. Don't stoop to his level. She's currently in an era of like hating Klaus again because he just killed Carol. So all the goodwill and chemistry between them, the writers are setting that aside for now.
Very briefly.
Doesn't even last an episode. It's so sad.
It's so baffling to me. I think I said in the Caroline episode, it's schizophrenic, frankly, and I mean that literally. How this dynamic will flip back and forth episode to episode, even within an episode.
Honestly. Like watching it, you'll start thinking, am I the one who's not okay?
Right.
Like, is it me?
Am I losing my mind? I don't know anymore.
Case in point, when Caroline shows up, Klaus is like, hello, Caroline. She completely ignores him. And when Tyler says, no, I'm getting my licks in while I can because this guy murdered my mom. She's like, okay, cool. Well, let's clean up the wreck that Elena and Jeremy left this house in after killing Cole. Let's start by, having some decency. Let's cover his horrific burnt corpse that's still lying on the floor in front of Klaus.
My favorite bit. I love it so much.
I do feel bad when Klaus is like sitting there on his own, staring at it before Tyler comes in. I was like, shit. He loved Cole.
That's great. I feel like in the energy we're sitting in now, I don't give that much of a damn.
Klaus is wild because then he says, Caroline, while we're on the subject, yes, I killed Tyler's mom. But now Cole is dead at the hands of Tyler's friends. So really, when you think about it, me and Tyler are even.
It's like, what?
So
Tyler wasn't even in that plan. Wasn't even in that episode, buddy. That's not how that works.
Wild. Just utterly wild. And then he's like, so, could you call Bonnie and get her to release me from this spell? Caroline says, I will never, ever help you. And then he's like, okay, fine. Maybe that wasn't enough. For the umpteenth time, I will remind you guys that I saved Tyler from the life of a werewolf, turning every month, breaking his bones, having his skeleton rearranged. Why do you guys keep forgetting that? I helped him. Does that count for nothing?
It's so pathetic that he always resorts to that when he does not get any headway. It's so silly.
It's on his greatest hits collection. It's daggering Rebecca, telling Stefan that he's the better option for Elena and Damon is trash.
Right.
And then it's telling Tyler, I saved you from being a werewolf.
It's like, what?
To make matters worse, he also says, also Caroline, remember when your mother invited me into her home to save you from a hybrid bite? Don't know how you got it, but to save you from a hybrid bite that you were dying from. Remember? Remember when I did that for you last season? Caroline says what we're all thinking. She's like, how delusional are you? Honestly, Caroline, on a scale of 1 to 10, 75. Frankly, this man is beyond it. He's in another show entirely. He's already in the spinoff.
Yeah.
But she's like, yeah, you killed Tyler's mother. His mom. That's not something we're just going to skim past. And need I remind you that we are currently standing in the kitchen of the Gilberts, whose Aunt Jenna you killed in season 2? Or did you think that your charm would be enough to make us forget that? And I was like, wow.
That seems like a meta.
The Caroline writers have kind of been.
I think a lot of people have been hinging on that Caroline, actually, and have succeeded in doing
Someone in the writer's room got a hold of Caroline's lines, and they were like, let me just remind you. Someone was not on board with that shit.
Good for them, I guess. They snuck one in. Did you think you're charmed? This is the other thing, too, that I take issue with this line. Like I say, from a meta perspective, yes. Within the story, nobody's charmed by Klaus.
Well,
nobody but Caroline
she
occasionally.
is in spite of herself.
Right. Exactly that, in spite of herself. Only 50% of the time is Caroline ever charmed by Klaus. But, the idea that they've all could be charmed by him to forget what he's done is I don't think anybody else even remotely likes this guy.
But yeah, she stops herself mid-rant and says, I'm not going to entertain this debate because you are not even worth the calories I burn speaking to you. So then he attacks her by impaling her and pulling her across the barrier so that he can give her a lethal hybrid bite.
Yeah.
And then...
And by the way, he impales her with this enormous lamp stand that he takes from the side. It's huge. Gouges through her abdomen, and then he lifts her up and brings her across to his side to then feed on her. Y'all need to go back and watch that shit again, is all I'm saying.
He drops her to the floor, and I assume she's still conscious when he does this. But he doesn't even look at her. He looks at Tyler.
Thank you.
And then says, now that was definitely worth the calories. And I'm like, that wasn't even Tyler's line that you're now flinging back at him.
Because it's not about her.
Why is...
It isn't.
She's always being caught in the crossfire of your wars with your boyfriends, but then you claim to be in love with her. Klaus?
Yeah. Yeah.
Transference, I think, is what's going on here. So Caroline goes into full panic mode, knowing that she will die without Klaus's blood, and there's no way he's going to let them have it now. And Tyler's like, let me fix this. Prostrate myself before you, Klaus, and beg for the cure. And Klaus is like, let me revel in my ability to make you feel powerless again. And Tyler says all the stuff Klaus wants to hear about how he's nothing before the might of Klaus Mikaelson, the original hybrid, etc. And he pleads with Klaus to save Caroline, even offering to become his slave again. And Klaus is like, No.
Yeah.
So then Caroline says, yeah, get me out of here. I can't even stand to look at him. By the end of the episode, when she's on death's door, Tyler performs an excellent gambit by leaving her dying form in front of Klaus and saying, you know what, if you want over control, you can have it. You can watch her die and see the consequences of you choosing not to save her. Initially, it doesn't work. Tyler leaves and Klaus is like, Caroline, it's nothing personal, but I can't cure you without looking like a pussy in front of Tyler. So,
Right.
You know.
It's never personal, is it? It's never personal. It's never actually about Caroline. It's always in your fight with some other man that she's an object in. And he says that as though it's supposed to assuage any sense of like hurt or betrayal that she feels that he did this to her by devaluing her with this statement, right?
You know?
You don't even matter enough that I hurt you because I wanted to hurt you. I hurt you because I wanted to hurt that guy over there. Is so just like, I really don't get it. I don't.
But the magic of Caroline is strong because somehow the writers take this moment and they turn it into a tender Caroline scene. I don't know how they do it. I talk about how the magic system in this world often doesn't have a lot of consistency. There's no magic more powerful than Caroline because
I disagree. The Delena magic is a whole other, like, that's the one power. That's the Aes Sedai themselves just wrecking shit through that story.
Klaus and Caroline talk about why he does the terrible things he does. Caroline says, you murdered Carol Lockwood to get revenge on Tyler because you were hurt. You know, by the loss of your hybrids. You were like, oh, I'm alone. I've been betrayed in my own mind. Let me hurt Tyler back because of what he quote unquote took from me. And Klaus says, or maybe I just did it because I'm pure evil. And Caroline says, no. I've seen the human side of you because I've caught myself trying to forgive and forget all the horrible things you've done. And I was like, what?
Yeah.
I mean, I know you have, but the fact that you're saying it out loud, this season is full of saying the quiet parts out loud.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, Caroline, why have you caught yourself? That's never explained to us. Why have you caught yourself feeling that way? The story will just act as though humans are completely enslaved by their feelings. You just react to things. You're just a bunch of chemicals.
Well, she's not a
Her
human,
feeling
right?
any
She's
type
a
of way.
vampire.
Well,
You know? Those heightened emotions.
she's a vampire. It's heightened. If she were human, she would have looked at Klaus and thought, Joseph Morgan is pretty, but this is a terrible person. But she's a vampire, so she's heightened. She's like, I think I'm falling for you.
It's like heightened so much that now you like are in love with, like, it doesn't make sense. And I said this in the Caroline episode where I'm like, listen, it speaks volumes of Caroline's empathy that she's trying to find some sense of goodness within Klaus, but I don't understand what it is she's meant to like about Klaus. Physical attraction, okay, fine. You don't find her going to every hot guy and being like, oh, there's just something about him that I have to fight against my better nature. What is so inexorably alluring to her about Klaus that synthesizes this storyline is what I don't know.
As we said in the Caroline episode, I was like, Caroline knew Tyler in his douchebag era. And even then, she was like, I am not feeling you, not interested in you right now.
Right.
But she says that she knows he is, this is when she says it, she knows he's in love with her. And anyone capable of love is capable of being saved.
Sure.
And I was like, okay.
I don't know if I agree with that.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot to say about villains who can feel love. Because I'm like, who you love and how you love them is also quite relevant.
Right.
I don't think that if, you know, Ava Braun, a Nazi, was in love with Hitler, that means I should save Ava Braun.
I was gonna go to Kingpin, but I guess yours is a lot more effective. I was gonna be like, hey, have we heard about Kingpin and Vanessa? Like, I don't know if that...
Capable of love in what way? Because it's like, you know, Thanos hurling Gamora off a cliff to get the Soul Stone because he genuinely loved her in his horrible, toxic way. Does that mean Thanos can be saved?
So many questions. I get the idea. And again, that I'd be fine with that if it was like, hey, I don't know what you think is going on here, but if that's what you feel, then that means there's something human in you. So cut the shit, sort your life out. I do appreciate that, but it's synthesized into this whole Caroline thing that I don't care for.
But this is the same show that will say Catherine Pierce is an evil, cold, manipulative irredeemable monster. Despite the fact that she feels love for Stefan, she felt some sort of love for Damon. She even has lingering feelings for Elijah that we will see later on this season. But Klaus feels love for Caroline, so there's something that can be saved inside him.
Almost forgot, and thank you for saying that, because the only thing I really wanted to, because I was like, when we discuss the originals, everything that I feel will be discussed, because you and I have fairly similar opinions on most of the originals. The one thing I felt that I really wanted to get into is how much, maybe not Grace necessarily, especially in this show, he does get Grace in the later show, how much interest that the narrative has in Klaus being this, like, tortured soul, dear, like, oh no, I have such trauma and that's why I'm evil, and oh, me having this love interest who's one of the Mystic Falls gang is actually really cool and hot and sexy and sweet, and like, wouldn't you like to? But it's something that, and this is true within the narrative and then also within the fandom of the show, where the villains who are men get a lot more grace than the villains who are women in this show. As you rightly say, Catherine, who's probably like the biggest like female villain in this show, as compared to the grace that Damon Salvatore and Klaus Mikaelson get, is night and day.
And it's like, it's almost like this opposite effect. Klaus is introduced as this monster in season 2. And the longer he exists in this universe, the more and more sympathetic he is presented as.
Yes.
Catherine is introduced as a villain. In the same season she's introduced, it's explained why she is the way she is.
9
and you're like, oh, okay, we understand somewhat. But the longer she's in the show, the worse she gets. Until by the end of her story, she's like, I'm going to hijack Elena's body and pretend to be her forever so that I can date Stefan under false pretenses. And it's like, what?
She was doing okay in season 3. What happened? And so that's from the story perspective where it's like, okay, Catherine does that and she becomes a villain again, right? Because by season 3, it's like, oh, where do we sit with her? She's helped us out a couple of times. She's left the show on a fairly neutral note. And then she comes back and does a bunch of messed up shit and she is now villain again. Damon, season after season, will continue to not just do awful shit in present day, but we'll have flashbacks that retcon in even more heinous stuff that he's done. And will never once be considered a villain in the midst of that or in future. I mean, in the same sort of space as it's the writing of Rebecca within the show, in the themes of the show and how characters of a similar standing are treated across the gender line, there is a lot of misogyny to this show that's unavoidable. So yeah, I'm glad you called
that. It's so annoying. But yeah, Caroline, you have your moment. Klaus feeds her his blood and saves her. Saves her from a bite he gave her. This is worse than season 3 when he ordered someone else to bite her.
It's the second time
the bar was in hell and Klaus said, hold up, let me dig deeper. I'm feeling like there needs to be a sub-basement in Tartarus.
I'm going to Pluto's bedchambers themselves. I don't care.
For Rebecca, this episode...
Yeah.
On her side of things, just real quick. She drags Elena at one point because they're on this creepy island. Elena's feeling nervous and she's like, oh, it's so creepy. And Rebecca's like, you could always just leave. And Stefan is like, okay, please don't start. And Rebecca's like, no, well, everyone else is a necessary piece of the puzzle. She says, Jeremy has the spell on his body. Bonnie is the wish that unseals the cure. Shane is the human compass. You and I have the tombstone, which does God knows what. And Elena has no point.
It's like,
I was just like,
do we need the two of you to carry the tombstone? I don't know if this maths is mathsing the way you want it to.
Also, the tombstone is an object that anybody could have.
Right.
Acting as though Stefan and Rebecca need to be there because they happen to swipe it.
And then as you've said before, after that, Damon is like, what about me? And she's like, well, you have a nice behind. So it's like, this is
You
nonsense.
have a nice behind, which isn't even true. Not to body shame Smolder Holder. But I'm like, you're in jeans all the time. I've seen your ass.
I've seen.
It's nothing to write home about.
That is a washboard. I'm sorry to say. That is not the thing you want to be a washboard, and I don't say that to be mean. Let's not lie to each other, Miss Everdeen. Please. Okay. There are not a lot of contenders in this show, in the derriere department.
Unfortunately, I can't remember what Matt's behind looks like. He is at one point like one of the buffest in the show, him and Jeremy.
Right.
But the fact that I can't remember it means it was probably never worth remembering.
You know? And to be fair, most if not all the men in the show are white. So what are you gonna
We gotta
do?
wait till Marcel shows up.
Right.
Later on, Rebecca and Stefan have a tender moment by the campfire that night, and she admits that being a vampire is miserable and she would do anything to be human again. And I'm like,
This is
okay,
Rebecca?
if this is where we are now, yeah, this is Rebecca. She's now in her Rosalie era, fully.
Okay.
She's fully Rosalie looking at Bella and saying, this isn't a life I would have
I
wanted
would've
for
chosen
myself,
for
and I
myself."
wish there had been someone there to vote no for me.
Okay. All right, Rosalie.
Oh, Shane, there's a scene where Jeremy gets snatched.
Yes.
Bonnie has also gone off to look for him. She's like in a trance, sort of, because of the expression. Rebecca, Stefan, and Elena go off to look for him. The girls keep bickering. Stefan is eventually like, okay, girls, enough now, please. There's more important stuff going on than this high school drama. We're not even at the school anymore. Just behave. And then Rebecca, weirdly, is like, no. I guess she's going all the way back to season 3, pre-Michael's death, because she's like, no, I tried to be Elena's friend. But somehow, I ended up with a dagger in my back because I'm supposedly the evil one.
So
And I was like, what? Wait?
she tried to be Elena's friend?
I guess before the homecoming dance?
Elena came to her while she was compelling a bunch of high schoolers to model dresses for her. I don't want to argue semantics, but Elena very much approached her in that and endured a lot of abuse hurled her way and threats and compulsion threats. Got to the end of that thing giving her very important information about how her brother killed her mom. I think if there was any heavy lifting, to be fair, she did then dagger you in the back. That's indisputable. But I think the heavy lifting on the formation of that very brief friendliness was on Elena's shoulders, I think.
I guess she's like, well, I tried to reciprocate and then you daggered me.
It's just a lot
Because
to be
I'm
like, oh, I
evil.
tried to be her friend and look what I got for it. I don't think you did anything to like be her friend. But all right.
Elena says, well, Rebecca, you didn't achieve evil status until you actually killed me.
That's fair.
Then she triggers a booby trap that would have staked and killed her, but Rebecca saves her from it.
Yeah.
So she's like, oh, wow, actually, thank you. And Rebecca's like, if you're gonna die, it might as well be epic.
Where are we?
But later on, Rebecca and Stefan are alone. They speak. She throws more shade Elena's way. And Stefan's like, girl, come on, cut it out. And she's like, why does everyone assume that I hate Elena so much? And I was like,
What?
What? What?
Girl, you're joking. Girl, you're playing in my face.
I guess what she was trying to say is, why does everyone assume that it comes from nowhere? Because she asked the question and Stefan's like, because you killed her at the end of last season. And then Rebecca's like, no, I killed her because it was the only way to ensure my family would never again be threatened by Vampire. And need I remind you that Elena has helped to kill not one, but 2 of my brothers.
She has done that, true.
So then she says, so maybe Elena and I aren't as different as everyone makes us out to be. And
Again,
I'm like, well,
that's where you lose me. There's a lot that happens in this season where they start to be like, maybe the originals and us aren't so different. And I'm like, no, that doesn't work. You 1,000-year-old creatures came to this town with the express purpose of killing this girl. I don't think you're ever gonna get me on that page, babe.
They came here to beef with teenagers.
You opened with Elena with, I'm going to kill that doppelganger bitch just for having my mother's necklace that she didn't know about. That was your opening move with this girl. I don't think you're gonna get me on that page, Rebecca. I'm sorry.
But by this point, Shane has now absconded with the tombstone.
While you were busy yapping.
Rebecca initially assumes that the Mystic Falls gang has betrayed her yet again. And honestly,
Fair.
It's fair. She's immediately like, oh my gosh, you took the stone. I know you did it. You guys were just trying to lure me into a false sense of security. All you ever do is betray me.
Oh.
And I was like, it's kind of sad that you're this paranoid, but I understand why you are this paranoid.
Yeah. It's from all sides, always with her. It sucks.
But you haven't really given this group a reason to be on your
There's
side.
also that. Like, I think, again, as usual, she's displacing a lot of energy from her brother to these people who she has power over. That's what's happening. So,
Transference. But she asks if all of Stefan's tender moments with her over the last few episodes have just been a ploy to distract her. And Stefan's like, no, I
Which
want
they
the
weren't.
cure.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, okay, fine, I trust you. I still don't trust Elena. Elena's like, girl, here's the white oak stake. Just take it. Sign of trust. Remember when I gave Elijah the dagger to prove to him I was
Right.
trustworthy? I'm giving you the white oak stake, the one thing that can kill you.
It's a
Can we
really
bury
good
it now?
move that
Bury the
will
hatchet.
always work.
So that's nice. The next episode, we've discussed it in the Elena and Jeremy episodes. It's all the going into the tomb. Rebecca is just mainly there to help Damon fight Vaughn.
Yep.
To take the brunt of his attacks. And yeah, then Catherine shows up and steals the cure after everyone else's hard work. Catherine is that person coming in. She didn't contribute to the group project at all. She comes in on the day. She steals your key card and just says the whole speech herself.
She
She's
speaks
"Why are
on
you
your
so well
part of the
prepared?"
project before you get a chance to, and then you're just standing there like, well, now what do I say?
Next episode, Stand By Me.
Oh, Jeremy dies also. She does kill Jeremy.
Yes, she kills Jeremy at the end of this episode. The next episode, it's Elena's denial era because she's waiting for Jeremy to revive.
Bless.
He's not going to. On Klaus's end of things, I guess in the previous episode, he's released from Bonnie's spell when she gets injured. By then, Tyler has run away. He's had to
No.
skip town yet again.
Bless.
Rebecca finds Vaughn at a certain point, and she's like, oh, let's interrogate him. She and Damon do that for a little bit. They don't get a whole lot of useful info out of him. So then they're like, okay, let's just leave him here to die, because if he starves to death, that doesn't count as us murdering him, so the Hunter's curse won't affect us.
Sure. Don't know if I would have risked that, but fair.
Episode 17, Bring It On. Again, I don't think this is
I don't think the originals are in this one
relevant.
either.
Yeah. I think all that happens is we see Rebecca for the first time since Christmas. She's on the run, and I think this is when Klaus is like, Rebecca, let me save you from this vampire Katerina Petrova sent after you. This might be when he wines and dines her.
You mean Haley? Sorry, you said Rebecca. And
Sorry,
I was
did
very
I say?
confused.
Sorry, I said Rebecca.
Right.
So sorry. Haley is attacked by some vampire that Catherine Pierce sent after her. We find out that she is the one who's been in cahoots with Catherine, who tipped her off to what the Mystic Falls gang was up to this season.
Mm-hmm.
Klaus kills that vampire, brings Haley back to town for protection, I guess. They spend the whole episode talking way too much. If you don't know what's coming up, you're like, why are
What
these
is
two
this
having a scene
about?
together?
Right.
What's going on?
Why are we spending so much of the runtime of this episode with Klaus Mikaelson and Haley Marshall?
Because you would think the thing tying them together is over. The hybrids are all dead.
Right.
Tyler's left town. Like,
Why are we here? Also, Klaus, as has been peddled to me as a viewer, is entangled romantically with Caroline somehow. So this is... I don't know.
Haley takes up Caroline's torch in this episode.
Honestly,
She's sort of being receptive to his charm, but like insulting him at every opportunity. Then eventually, I guess they have hate sex or something.
Hate is even too strong. They don't know each other that well for her to hate him. She doesn't hate him about the hybrids. She sold the hybrids out to him. I don't think that's a big concern she's got.
They have sex because they have bodies that fit together, and they were like,
Sure.
what the hell? Sure.
What the hell, sure, was made for this episode, in fact.
And that one moment that makes no sense will branch off an entire segment of this universe. You want to talk about sacred timelines? If they had trimmed this episode,
Canon event. This is a nexus. Oh god, lines of TVA agents just standing around this moment in the timeline with their weapons out at anybody who dares to stop it.
after they sleep together, when Haley's getting dressed, Klaus is like, hey, that birthmark on your back. I know that. It belongs to this specific clan of werewolves that live in New Orleans.
Right.
Haley's like, you better not be lying to me. Because my vague motivation this season has been finding out who my birth parents are.
Right.
That's why I work with Shane. to get
And
all
I've
the
been
items.
burned on that before. The man used y'all's trick, actually, to show me to a tombstone
I did!
of my parents. So stop shit.
And Klaus is like, nah, I would never lie about family. Like, go to New Orleans. I think you'll find your answers there. And she's like, okay, I guess. Thanks.
Peace.
Bye. Guess we'll never see each other again. And while we know that's not true, I think it's wild that Klaus Mikaelson, man of vengeance, man who supposedly has only stopped himself from killing Elena many times because he needs her, or Caroline because he's got a crush on her,
Yeah.
or Damon because he knows his boyfriend Stefan loves his brother. Klaus doesn't know Haley from a bar of soap, and she helped unsire his hybrids, who he then slaughtered. And knowing him, he'd absolutely blame her for that. He'd be like, you made them disloyal to me and I had to kill them. It's your fault they're dead.
He's
Somehow he
blamed
doesn't kill
lesser
her.
people for far less involvement.
Yes.
She was directly responsible for this.
But somehow he doesn't kill her. He's like, oh, I don't know. I guess Catherine screwed you over the way she screwed me over in my own mind. So
I'm
that
like,
makes us
no,
kindred spirits.
That's not it. That doesn't make any sense. Not in Klaus Mikaelson's head. Truly, we've discussed this moment before where I'm like, this whole thing only makes sense as a narrative requirement for the spin-off.
Yeah.
Everything about this episode just does not fit together. Klaus having sex? Come on. Don't play with me. Klaus as a sexual being within the confines of this show makes very little sense. It feels weird when it starts becoming clear, oh, that's where this is headed. You're like, oh, okay, I guess.
There's like lines in the dialogue that suggest he's making her feel safe and cared for, and he saved her from this vampire that wanted to kill her. So that's why she's... And I'm like...
Why would she...
Why would Haley be into Klaus?
Right.
She doesn't like him, and even at this stage after betraying Tyler, she's still upset that he wants to kill Tyler because apparently she still cares for him in some regard. She half-jokingly suggests that she might actually have feelings for him. She's like, oh, she'll never get her chance with Tyler if he doesn't make up with Caroline by sparing Tyler and then steal her away from Tyler.
Okay.
I don't think she's being serious.
Okay.
I don't think she's being serious. I hope she's not. As far as the story is concerned, she never pursues Tyler in any meaningful way. But at the very least, she still cares about him as a friend. In all of that, how would she then be into Klaus? Like, oh, the man you're angry at because he's put a hit out on your friend?
I guess just because he's supposed to be hot, right? That's all it takes.
I guess.
I don't know. People
Why
have
not?
needs.
What the hell? Sure.
What the hell, sure. People have needs. He's willing.
Episode 18, Because the Night.
Will be the night.
Not because tonight. This episode, we're back on our Caroline bullshit. I love that Caroline does not exist in the episode in which Klaus needs to impregnate Haley. It completely ceases to be a thing for one beautiful day.
It can't coexist. It simply cannot. Haley is only a little bit older than like the Mystic Falls gang. It seems like she's in her like early 20s at the most. And even in that, as weird as that episode is, it's simply not comparable to the Klaus and Caroline thing when you're talking about the like discrepancy in age. Already just by like a few years, it becomes less weird and concerning. Because as we say all the time, Haley dips a foot in this show and from day one is like, I'm working towards that spin-off, baby girl. I don't have time for this teen drama. I don't sit in this energy. So it like very neatly glides her above when we come back to the Caroline and it's like, oh, it's weird again.
Especially when Klaus leaves to go be in a show with adults.
Right.
Because when you think about it, the funny thing is the spin-off takes place essentially in the same era as the tail end of season 4 and I guess the beginning of season 5 and Delena's Summer of Love. So Davina Claire.
Yes.
Davina Claire is probably April Young's age.
Yes.
She's like a schoolmate of the Mystic Falls gang. But the narrative will treat her like a child compared to everyone else in that show.
This child that everybody's trying to control, this baby child. And it's like, wow, what a difference the average age of your cast will do.
Gosh, even how Rebecca's dynamic with Davina works in the brief era where she's like, oh, I feel sorry for you because like us girls gotta stick together, and it's very like a sort of older auntie energy. And I'm like, but Rebecca,
my older
6
sister,
months
my
ago,
young
you
aunt,
were beefing with cheerleaders.
Right. You were just in a Mean Girls era with cheerleaders just last month, Rebecca. Thank God we've left that behind. But wow, that's crazy.
But yeah, Caroline is back. Klaus goes to see Care Bear, who is drowning her sorrows now that Tyler has had to skip town again. She's not interested in speaking to him. Stefan turns up and says he actually asked for Klaus's help because he thinks Silas is in Mystic Falls. Klaus is like, girl, I don't care. Because, I'm Klaus. Nothing can threaten me. And then they're like, well, Silas plans to unleash every dead supernatural being from the other side. Like all those ones you've murdered over the centuries. I think maybe now you'll care. And they're like, okay, cool. We need to figure out, what's going on. He needs one more massacre of 12 to complete his little expression triangle. They do some investigative work. It's an interesting trio we don't often get to see. Klaus and the two loves.
His true loves, yes.
He performs his favorite hits, trying to make Stefan feel insecure about Delena, talking about how darkness can allure even the purest hearts. Caroline, again, does that thing where she looks away from the camera and she's like, oh my gosh, I feel something. What is...
A fluttering. I can't face this. Back to work.
But then she finds a magic textbook that informs them that the third sacrifice must be witches. So they work out the two possible locations for the third massacre would be. That's with the little geometry joke where she's like, yes, working with angles, yes, the third point would have to be here. And Klaus is like, well, no, there are two possible points. Guess someone wasn't paying attention in geometry. She's like, well, you didn't let me finish. Banter. They have to remove Stefan from the scene so this can happen. Because
where does he go? I was about to ask.
Back to business. I think he's looking for Bonnie or Silas or both.
Sure.
So then they all go off to search for Bonnie and Silas. Stefan decides to go one way. Caroline and Klaus go the other way. And
it seems crazy that she wouldn't go with Stefan, who is her good friend.
I guess she's like, I don't want Klaus finding Bonnie and doing anything we wouldn't like. But yeah, in this conversation, they basically discuss this stupid bad boy / evil guy romance trope in a nutshell. Because Caroline's like, I'm a little annoyed at that subtweet you made earlier about the allure of darkness. And Klaus is like, actually, I was talking about Delena, but clearly it struck a chord with you. Caroline insists that, no, this isn't true. There is nothing attractive about darkness. And I was like, all right. Okay. A little racist to me, Caroline. But
please, leave us out of this mess.
But Klaus says, so you've never felt the allure of when someone who is capable of doing terrible things cares only about you. And I was like, and there it is. That's what it is.
How stupid it is that they said it as a line of dialogue in the show. That is the shit you leave for the AO3 girlies to write in the fandom chats. You don't say it in the show.
They said the thing. I told you, this season is saying the quiet part out loud. And Caroline says, listen, I actually did think I felt that once when I thought that person, not going to name names, was worth it. But now I realize that some people can't be fixed. People who do terrible things are just terrible people. And I was like, okay, Caroline, bold of you with this group of friends you have to say that. Isn't Stefan like a recovering ripper? But okay.
Well, that's the point, right? It's a setup. It's a setup for how this episode's going to end, so she can be humbled.
Stefan gets to Bonnie first and tries to save her from the witches who are attempting to cleanse or kill her, or both. Eventually, Klaus and Caroline arrive as well, and Klaus doesn't want to let Stefan save Bonnie because apparently the only way to do that is to kill all the witches, and that would give Silas what he wants. In the end, Caroline reluctantly kills the witches in order to save her friend. The next day, Klaus is helping Caroline bury the witches' bodies, and he's like, it never happened. Visibly distressed at having murdered 12 people. But she's also pissed that Klaus was willing to let Bonnie die to stop Silas. And Klaus is like, remember how I made that geometry dig at you last night? It seems that you're following this trajectory of bad maths because one life is a smaller number than 12 lives, Caroline.
So
and Caroline's like, well, I'm in the Mystic Falls gang and Bonnie's my friend, so her life is more valuable than these extras. And Klaus just says, whatever helps you sleep at night. And then the reality of what she's done starts to crush Caroline, and Klaus is like, oh, you look like you're in need of some comfort. And then he says she should go find someone less terrible she can relate to.
Go eat the biggest white oak steak they can make, shove it down your throat, and have it burn you all the way through your system from the inside out. Speaking
of which, After he drives Caroline away, Silas shows up looking like Atticus Shade. Klaus is like, it's you, Silas, and the two villains stare each other down. And then Silas is like, yeah, you should give me the cure to make sure it can't be used against you. Klaus is like, well, I don't much care for your plan to resurrect all the residents of Purgatory, so maybe no. Then Silas pulls out the White Oak stake, which this stake has just been passed around everybody this season. Damon had it in episode 1. He tried to use it on Rebecca. Then suddenly Elena had it at Rebecca's party.
Yeah, which she says she took it from Damon's room. Which is, we've established Damon's terrible at hiding things, so that's believable to me. But like, not the pass around party steak.
And pass around party steak.
At some point, how does Rebecca end up with it?
She gets it from Cole, doesn't she? Because Cole
I thought Cole
stole it from
her.
Klaus. Oh, Cole stole it from her. How did she get it?
Truly can't recall.
Elena gave it to Stefan, or Stefan rather got it from her after she was like, I'm gonna kill Rebecca.
Oh, I know what it was. Stefan had it, gave it to Caroline when they were going to go save
Elena from Rebecca's after-school special. Then
Right.
Rebecca disarmed Caroline, and she had it.
Yes.
Then Cole got it off her.
Right. Then
Then
Klaus-
Jeremy and Elena got it off Cole.
Right.
Then
Elena gave
then
it to
Elena
Rebecca.
gave it to Rebecca.
Right.
And now Silas has stolen it from wherever Rebecca had hidden it.
Well,
because he can
we
read minds.
think.
Oh, yes. So Klaus tries to attack him. Silas outclasses him because is he even there? Is he in front of you? Is he behind you? You don't know.
Icon.
He stabs Klaus with it and snaps off a part of a stake inside Klaus's back, leaving him wounded. He is so shook. The way Joseph Morgan screams on the rare occasions Klaus actually gets hurt.
Yeah, that's what it is. It's that you don't often hear him scream in pain and terror. It's a very rare occasion, and it gets some good reverb in. I'm sure there was some post-prod. Very good stuff.
He does a good job of capturing just like also the shock Klaus
Yes.
feels whenever someone manages to hurt.
Yes.
He's like, what? Me? That's it for Klaus this episode. Rebecca just basically follows Damon and Elena to New York.
Yeah.
Elena's in her no humanity era.
She spends a couple of episodes attached to Damon's hips, and that's my least favorite time for her. I'm never like entertained or pleased when she's jobbing for Damon.
But thankfully, this is when the seeds of her connection with no humanity Elena start to grow because they're like, Damon's up to something. I don't think he really brought Elena here just for fun times, feeding in New York. And Elena's like, no, I know he's up to something. He's chasing a lead for the cure. Like he wants to find Catherine so that he can cure me. The thing is, I don't want to be cured. And then Rebecca's like, what say you and I work together? Because I really want the cure. And now we know there's only one dose. So if I take it, nobody can give it to you.
Yeah.
And Elena's like, why would you want to help me? You've made your hatred of me pretty apparent. And Rebecca's like, actually, I kind of like no humanity.
Right.
It's working for you, girl. I like this makeover. I like the haircut. It's giving.
Yeah.
And then Elena's like, okay, but why do you want to be human? Like, you haven't explained that to me. And Rebecca explains her Rosalie-esque reasons. And this just chafes Elena. She drags Rebecca for filth in that cold, detached way she speaks in this era. And she's like, ultimately, Rebecca, you are too insecure, neurotic, too emotional to be anything other than a liability to me on my little quest right now. And Rebecca's like, wow. Looks like she's been slapped. And she's like, you just made me miss the old Elena.
Don't it always seem to go that you don't know what you got till it's gone? Pay paradise. But we were just talking about Counting Crows the last session.
Were
Because there
we?
was an episode called Murder of One, which is a song of theirs, as we found out. So that's fun.
Ooh, there's a scene, it's not really important, but I like that there's this scene where some random barfly gets too handsy with a very disinterested Rebecca and she hurls them to the floor with her
Nice.
vampire strength. And she's like, excuse you. I was like, Bex, those are the superpowers you'd be giving up. Just saying.
Just saying.
Not that
Like-
not that a human woman couldn't defend herself. But I'm just
Right.
like, you
But
have
it certainly helps.
super strength. Yes.
To be super strong and be able to make people do whatever you want. It's not a bad power set, Bex. And it is nearly impossible to kill you.
But eventually, Rebecca snaps Damon's neck, and she and Elena give him the slip, and they take off on their girls' trip to hunt Catherine down.
American Gothic. Ooh. My shit right here.
American Gotham. It's so fun. Rebecca and Elena like bouncing from town to town, going through all Catherine's previous addresses that they managed to get from this person that Damon was inadvertently helping Catherine get fake identities from back in the day. And then it's like, okay, I'm bored of this. Let's like stop for a snack, by which I mean a person, because I'm no humanity, Elena. I eat people now. And Rebecca's like, no. We need to stay the course. Like, we gotta keep going. And then he's like, oh, no. This is what I was talking about when I said you were emotional. Like, don't be this way. Is about to feed off someone who's like, oh my gosh, Catherine, don't bite me on the neck. You remember how I like you to feed on my arm? And she's like, wait, you know who I am? When Rebecca's like, oh, you know who she is? And the woman's like, I don't know what you're talking about. I've never heard of Catherine Pierce.
I love this.
And they're like, oh, okay. Catherine's compelled them to only know who she is when they're speaking directly to her.
Right.
But apparently she didn't account for the fact that she has a lookalike. I guess eventually they find her in the town. Rebecca steps away for a second, and Catherine is about to ambush Elena, like, 500 years on you. I'm going to kill you now. Rebecca shows up. 1,000 is 500 more than 500, so I'm going to kill you.
We all know maths.
You don't do what we say.
We all know addition.
They spend the rest of the afternoon interrogating Catherine in a diner. Rebecca's directing all her mean girl energy at Catherine. I think it might be her first scene with Catherine.
Ever. Yes, that's correct. When Catherine shows up in season 3, she is watching them from afar, and Stefan leaves his tete-a-tete with Klaus and Rebecca to go speak with Catherine across the road. And every time Catherine comes back, it's either with the Salvatores or with Mikael. She never meets Rebecca until now.
And Rebecca only has horrible things to say about Catherine.
Yeah,
she's like, you and Sage, same WhatsApp group. Filthy peasants that my brothers fell in love with. I don't know what they ever saw in either of you.
And it's like, God damn, there's no winning. I can't even have my American Gothic without this shit. It is funny, though, that it's like, now we need to be like, actually, Rebecca was there in the flashbacks in the 1400s, but we didn't see her because Catherine wasn't concerned with her at all. She was just with the boys.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
She's even like, I didn't expect you to remember me since you spent all your time wedging yourself between my brothers. And I was like, did she?
That's not quite true.
Klaus was pretending to court her while fully intending to kill her, and Elijah started to fall for her in spite of himself. I don't think she was wedging herself between your brothers.
The same shit they put on Elena too. They're like getting between the Salvatore brothers, and it's like they came to her town, showed up at her school. I get it's their town too, but like we need to be watching for the actions in this history, please.
But as discussed in the Catherine episode, Catherine's like, listen, I just want to use the cure to bargain for my freedom. I'll give it to Klaus to do with whatever he wants. Elena's like, yeah, well, we obviously know that you'll betray us. And Catherine's like, no, I'm not going to do that. And Rebecca's like, oh, please. Eventually, Rebecca's like, let's go through Catherine's phone. And they find their contact saved as E.M., who we will later on find out is Elijah Mikaelson when Elena goes off to meet him in Catherine's place. Rebecca's left alone with Catherine, and she's like, okay, now that Elena's gone, I have to admit I've always been somewhat envious of the legend that is Catherine Pierce. And I'm like, hatred stems from jealousy a lot of the time, Rebecca. Because Catherine is literally the inverse of you. Surrounded by men, but it's all the men that she has wrapped around her little finger. It's not her constantly being manipulated and used by her male love interests.
Damn.
And even Rebecca's like, yeah, you're always toying with these boys. Even the Salvatore brothers fell head over heels for you. Elijah betrayed Klaus for you. Which I'm like, no, that's not what happened.
Quite true.
Like, have the writers watched this show?
That's what I was saying. I was like, I don't think a lot of these guys go back and see. I'm so curious about, like, I want to see the show Bible for the Vampire Diaries to be like, how much historical note was kept? I don't know.
It's one of those ancient tomes where you're like, oh, I've discovered it. I've unearthed it Indiana Jones style. And then the page you're looking for has already been torn out and destroyed.
Yeah.
Like Wan Shi Tong's library with the whole Fire Nation section had been destroyed.
Right.
That's what'll happen when I look for the page that explains how silver affects werewolves and why the daggers still work on Klaus. That part has been ripped out, destroyed.
Lost to history, never to be seen. And Julie is waiting to drop the library on you the moment you try and look for it. Okay? Trust.
Oh, that creepy owl. Anyway,
love him. He's voiced by Hector Elizondo. Joe from the Princess Diaries. That's what it's called.
Oh, was it him?
Yes.
Callie's dad?
Yes, him.
Wow.
Yeah, I think his name's
I
Hector
can hear it now.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Always thought that was cool.
He's so fun.
He's
I did not know
lovely.
he was Hispanic until I saw him play Callie's dad.
Right.
Rebecca is then like, but Catherine, look at you now, alone and friendless. You had to compel a town of people to like you. Catherine's like, well, better me than being the dumb blonde who wants the cure. You think the cure is going to give you this clean slate?
All the things you hate about yourself, Bex, will still be there when you wake up in the morning, except now you won't even have
the ability to compel yourself a friend.
Oh, God.
Before things get too catchy, the Salvatores show up. Elena goes to meet Elijah. It takes him about 2 seconds to realize that it's not Catherine. He's like, Katerina! Starts kissing her, and then it's like, oh, is this how their relationship has evolved off screen? Okay, I guess we're doing this.
Would have loved to see that flashback, but all right, this is fine. I'll roll with it.
Catherine reveals to Rebecca and the Salvatores that, yeah, it's Elijah Elena's gone to meet. Bet he killed her the second he realized she wasn't me. And I'm like, well, no. Elijah does not, out of all the Mikaelsons, he's the one who likes her the most.
Likely to do that.
Stefan calls Elijah and he's like, where's Elena? And Elijah's like, well, where is Catherine? Because I don't want you to try and do anything to the woman I now love. And it's like, a lot has happened off screen. Elijah is now devoted to Catherine?
Yeah, I mean, it's been
basically
a year since we last saw either of them.
That's when did she go find him?
In a year, a lot can happen.
Because eventually we're led to believe that at least there's a possibility she's just manipulating him so that he can get in touch with Klaus. And I'm like, that's because of this cure thing. So it must have only been this season that they've been in contact.
Still half a year?
I guess. But Elijah's back to being like, yeah, I'll hurt Elena if you try anything. Well, actually, first he doesn't threaten them at first because he's like, no, Catherine can handle you boys. And they're like, well, Rebecca's here. And he's like, wait, what?
Oh
no. Rebecca hates Catherine. She's not a girl's girl.
Right. That is a woman you've placed in front of Rebecca. She's in trouble.
And that's when he's like, well, if anything happens to Catherine, I'll kill Elena. And I'm like, but Elijah, the last time you and Elena spoke, you were like, oh, I'm so sorry that I used
Oh, no,
you
I don't
as
think
leverage.
that's true. I think that's just to make sure that the Salvatores make sure that Rebecca doesn't do anything crazy.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
I
That's fair.
don't
That's
think.
fair. I guess she is sitting right there while he makes that phone call and she's perfectly fine.
Yeah.
And then she's like, oh, you're back in Catherine's web of lies. You're so silly. Like, how could you? And Elijah's like, no. Katerina and I have always had this connection. And that's when he says she contacted me as soon as she learned about the cure.
Right. Well, at least she was straight up about it. That's nice.
He implies they've been physically involved because he's like, oh, we agreed we could be of mutual use to one another. And Elena's like, ugh, mutual. And he doesn't say, no, not like that. So I guess it is like that.
And good for you, buddy. It's been 500 years coming.
But he does tell Elena, listen, I know who I'm dealing with. I know what Catherine has done. I know who she is. She's been honest with me, though. She told me that you became a vampire, and now I can see that shame you've turned off your humanity. Elena, no.
Hate to see you like this, babe.
Elijah in his Beyonce moment, like, Elena, take a minute, girl, come sit down and tell us what's been happening.
Not the Destiny's Child.
But Elena's like, yeah, I switched off my humanity because your new girlfriend killed my brother. And Elijah's like, huh? And she's like, oh, you didn't know. Surprise, surprise. She lied to you. Meanwhile, Damon and Rebecca are led to Catherine's home that she's been staying in town. And they're like, show us where the cure is. I guess Stefan's gone off to meet with Elijah and Elena. Catherine's like, oh, okay, let me look in the safe I hid it in. Oh my gosh, it's gone. No, it was right here. Someone stole it. Damon's like, okay, yeah, sure. I'm betting that it's in this fish tank that doesn't have any fish. However, upon attempting to take out the treasure chest in the fish tank that he assumes the cure is in, he sees that it's vervain water. He gets burned. And Catherine's like, haha, throws his head in the tank, grabs the cure and is like, hey, Rebecca, you can either catch this or you can catch me. Throws it in the air and Van speeds away.
Sprint. Brilliant. Brilliant. And never once was the actual cure in her home. Fools, both of them, to believe that that's true.
Fools. Rebecca takes the cure and is like, yay, my child. Damon's like, no. Rebecca takes it, passes out, but it turns out when she wakes up that no, it was just a concentrated shot of vervain.
Wild.
She's disappointed when she's like, oh no, I'm still mortal. I was so close. And I'm like, wild of you to swipe the cure that you know the Salvatores want, well, at least one of the Salvatores definitely wants for Elena and then take it in front of them and then just leave yourself as a human at their mercy.
Yeah. It's wild to think they wouldn't just kill you right after that. Yeah, that's... I don't know.
Rebecca not making a lot of sense at this point of the story. She's unraveling, like the plot is.
Like the plot.
Elijah's with Elena being all like, oh no, Elena, the last time we spoke, I was like, your humanity is a gift. And now you've given it up. That's so sad. Like, no, I hate to see you like this. Catherine shows up, snaps Elena's neck.
Yep. And immediately
like, hey,
stands
Elijah.
in her place. It's so funny.
And Elijah's like, Catherine, did you kill Jeremy? And Catherine's like, okay, yes, I did.
And I bet she was
Sorry.
running here to tell you that. Make me look bad. It's like, I think you made yourself look bad when you killed the boy.
She takes a leaf out of Klaus's book and begins to start blaming other people for her sins.
Mm-hmm.
Elijah seems quite disgusted at her for doing that. He's like, murdering Elena's only family? No, that was over the line. She's like, no, Elijah, don't leave angry. You promised you'd help me negotiate for my freedom from Klaus. And he's like, oh, I love how that's the thing you brought up.
Mm-hmm.
Not us. But Klaus.
Yeah.
Okay, I see what this is. You're just using me, like you always have, like you did back in the 15th century.
Which is also
Catherine, I don't know why I'm
not quite
surprised.
True, but fair.
He deuces out, but at the end of the episode, Catherine comes to Elijah. She's gotten the real cure at this point, and she's like, here's the real cure. I'm taking a leaf out of that boring doppelganger's book when she's always handing you daggers. And I'm like, here, I'm handing you something valuable to prove to you that I can be as good as she is. Here you go.
It's probably killing her to do it too. I love it so much. But that is the reason why I think I'm like, there's clearly something genuine here. I do appreciate that scene is like, hey, she actually seemingly does care about him against her better judgment. That's nice.
And pin in that, we'll get to that in a few minutes. But as soon as she's gone, Rebecca's like, well, I'm here now, Elijah. Give me the cure. We all know that out of the two siblings you have left alive, I'm your favorite. So hand it over. And Elijah's like, no, but why do you want this? And she's like, because I want to start over. I want a simple life. I want to, live, grow old, die when it's time to die. We've had 100 lifetimes together. And like Mom was saying last season, it's actually too much. My t-shirt now says Esther was right. And I want to be human.
I know what image I'm making this week. And I hate what Elijah says in response, which is rare for me. I'm just like, not you two.
Oh, is it? When he's like, no, prove to me this is not just another one of your whims.
Which is like, what? Whims? Don't infantilize her like this. She's 1,000 years old. And also, if it is a whim, who cares? It's her life. If she wants to be human and die a human, let her do it. I find it weird.
I guess it's supposed to be, because Rebecca falls for men so easily. She can't be trusted to make decisions. But I'm like, is the cure a man?
Right.
Does
the
the
man
cure use
she's
he, him
ingesting
pronouns?
that's going to pop out of nowhere and marry her? Is this a Princess and the Frog situation? Clearly, I've misunderstood the magic system.
Gosh.
Because we can't be saying it's about Matt. We haven't spoken to Matt in 10 episodes. I don't think it's about him. So...
Not yet, it's not.
Yeah, well.
I think Klaus calls one of them. I can't remember what he says. It's probably not important. Unless you recall anything about that.
It's fine. The next thing I remember is the three of them getting together and Elijah being like, now it's time for both of you to be in competition. We're playing a little game.
Oh,
Rebecca,
yes.
You have one
When
night
he's
to
like-
be human to prove you can do it. And Klaus, I guess you just sit there and do nothing.
You get it by default.
Right. Which is like, why doesn't Klaus have to prove himself? Stupid.
Jeez, Rebecca, I guess you aren't the favorite sibling, even now that there's only two.
God damn.
So Rebecca decides, yeah, I'm gonna live a day as a human. This exercise in any event is stupid, as I think I've said before, because I'm like, okay, not using her strength, speed, healing, or other things doesn't make her human. She's still immortal. Like, she can't
die,
actively switch off or her healing factor, so any injury she gets will still go away.
Right. So this doesn't really prove anything.
Yeah.
Unless you can give her the heart-shaped herb to strip away the power of the Black Panther. Like, there's no genuine way to prove whatever it is you're trying to do.
Ooh, I know which image is being used in that part of the clip.
I hope I remember.
He's like, prove to me that your desire to be human is more than a spur of the moment desire. And I'm like, honestly, Elijah, if you were watching the show, like as an audience member, I'd be like, yeah, sure, I get it. Because Rebecca, this came out of nowhere and suddenly it's all you care about. But living in the universe, I'm like, this isn't fair, but sure. Good luck to you, Rebecca. And then she switches to her other setting. High school is now important to her. She wants to be prom queen.
Why does she want to be prom queen?
I don't know.
She could be an actual queen if she wanted to, like royalty.
Elijah says, go be human, I guess. So she was like, what do humans do? Oh, yes, go to high school. The one human thing I know how to do. The one thing I've been fixated on since I woke up in the 21st century. She goes to April and she's like, yeah, make me prom queen, please, April. I'm not going to compel you because I'm doing a thing, but could you make me prom queen? And Elena's like, yeah, I'm friends with Rebecca right now and I'm allowed to use my vampire powers, so you better do it or I'll kill you. Rebecca then remembers Matt exists and she's like, oh, Matty Blue, do you think I'd be a good human being? And Matt's like, well, no, I don't think so because you've never done anything good in your life. Honestly, I think you're going to take that cure and you'll still be the flawed person that you are right now.
I do love how honest he is with Rebecca this season. I think she needs it a bit.
Ultimately, Matt and Bonnie are crowned prom king and queen. Rebecca's like, oh, shoot. She's less disappointed than Elena, who's like, I'm going to murder April because she didn't do what I said.
Don't remind me.
As she's bleeding out, Matt is like, oh my gosh, Rebecca, please save April with your blood. And she's like, no, I can't do that because like healing people with vampire blood, that's not a human thing to do. I'll lose the bet with Elijah. And Matt's like, what? Seriously? You want to be a human? Show some humanity. Save this innocent girl who's only dying because you made a silly request of her that your new vampire bestie, Elena, decided was the most important thing today. So then she's like, fine, I guess I'll heal her. Frankly, I'm like, you could have just lied to Elijah. He would have had no way of knowing this unless he has
how's he
spies
gonna
in the
prove? He's not at the prom. Because unlike you, Elijah is not infected by this high school virus you've got. He's not chaperoning you to make sure you're winning. I don't understand this bet. I don't understand this game show.
Unfortunately, Klaus, who does like high school drama, does catch her.
Right.
And he's like, I'm going to tell Elijah. I'm going to tell Elijah.
So embarrassing all around.
She tries to defend herself. She's like, no, I acted with human decency. That's actually the most human thing, actually, when you think about it.
Klaus is like, girl, don't play it in my face. I saw you, and I'm telling.
It's all for naught because Elijah gets catfished by Silas. I kind of love Silas in his catfish era.
Oh, he's brilliant.
Everyone in these last couple of episodes.
We've said this
shows up as Rebecca.
Phantom Silas may be the best villain of the show, frankly.
Shows up as Rebecca and is like, hey Elijah, I won the bet. I didn't do anything not human. Proving that Elijah had no way of knowing what was going down.
Right.
Buys it like, completely. It's time for me to turn back into a pumpkin. Give me the cure. He's like, here you go, little sister. And it's like, thanks.
Really feels like he was just waiting for an excuse to give this thing to Rebecca, honestly. So why were we here, Elijah? You son of a bitch. Wasting all our time.
Gosh. Oh, I forgot to mention, because we completely forgot because more interesting things were happening. So I'll just mention
Klaus
briefly.
with the stake in his back. I don't even realize we dropped that.
Klaus had the stake in his back several episodes after Silas left it there. He calls Caroline, of all people, to help him.
Bold.
A fake Caroline shows up that is Silas at least twice.
That's the best part of that situation. Just Silas continuously duping him.
Shows up as Caroline is like, I want that cure, Klaus. Give it to me.
Silas is so great. The time he finds Caroline in the woods and he's pretending to be Matt, she's like, Matt, I just saw Silas. He's coming after me. And he's like, well, I wouldn't have to come after you if you got me that.
But eventually the real Caroline comes over, spends the afternoon digging around inside Klaus's back looking for this date.
Bitching the whole way through. I can't stand stand it.
She's like, oh, I'm not seeing any stake in here. He's like, I can feel it. It's scraping against my heart. Please, I can't reach it. He even looks weak, implying that the white oak wood being in his system affects him the same way ordinary wood would affect a regular vampire.
Yes.
And Caroline at one point is like, oh my gosh, I think I see your heart. No, my mistake, just a bloody rib. Eventually, she gets tired of his nonsense because she tries to bargain and she's like, if I help you, will you pardon Tyler? And he's like, girl, no! Can we have one day where we don't speak about Tyler?
And she's like, all right.
And then she's like, okay, fine, then I'm gonna leave. And he's like, no, don't you turn your back on me. And then she's like, I should turn my back on you ages ago. And their little argument snaps him out of Silas's psychic spell, I guess. And he realizes, oh, there was never a stake in me. It was all an illusion. So I guess, yay for Caroline.
Oh, yeah.
Their argument was so rich with chemistry and importance that it broke through mind control.
Oh, and there's a scene after that I'm
Whoop-de-doo.
sure people hold fast to, where he's very somber and shirtless right up next to Caroline saying, thank you
Oh, yes.
for breaking me out of it, for taking my mind off it. And she's like, are you going to let Tyler come back to town? And he's like, and she's like, okay, well, I'm going.
So then episode 21, Backdoor Pilot,
Right.
the originals, we will not discuss. We'll just briefly say, in the last episode, Catherine was like, hey, Klaus, I took a trip to New Orleans where I met a witch named Sophie Devereaux. Oh, is it Jane Ann Devereaux, who's, I think, still alive
I
at
think
that
she
point.
met Jane Ann,
Jane,
yeah.
Jane Ann Devereaux, who has some saucy secrets that she's going to tell you. You know you love me. XOXO.
Crazy.
Klaus takes a trip there and opens the door to the backdoor pilot. Elijah comes along and is like, yeah, let's do this. Let's be in a spinoff. Elijah calls Rebecca and is like, hey, Rebecca, we're leaving the Vampire Diaries to be in a spinoff show because Klaus needs our help with something really important.
Right.
Also, Haley's here. Remember her? And Rebecca's like, no, I'm not coming. I
Which-
hate Klaus. I'm staying here in Mystic Falls.
No, I get the first part of that. Fair enough. Don't follow them to New Orleans. They both suck, honestly, in your department. Why is the only other option with what to do with your immortal life to stay in this town with these people you don't like?
She doesn't know what to do with herself, and she kind of has a crush on Matt still. So I
Sure.
guess that needs to be a thing.
Listen, I
Because we're
love
nearing
Maddie
the
Blue as much, actually no, far more than probably most of the next shows like Maddie Blue. That boy is not worth staying in Mystic Falls for when you're 1,000 years old. I'm so sorry.
And I guess the whole Matt thing, I don't know what it was meant to be in season 3. I guess season 3 because he's a decent man, and Lord knows that's hard for Rebecca to find.
Right.
Since Stefan is no longer on the table. The whole Matt thing this season is that Matt signifies humanity, this thing that she values and admires and desperately wants. So naturally, all of this bottled into an attractive man is, well, an attractive high schooler
Yeah.
is what she wants. I mean, we talk a lot about Klaus and Caroline. I'm like, Rebecca, you
Rebecca
also
and
old as
Matt,
hell,
it's-
and Matt is the senior.
It's the exact same situation, to be clear.
You send him off a bridge, almost kill him, and then you want to shower him with gifts afterwards. I'm like, these are abuser tactics, Rebecca.
Yeah, this is love bombing, which is crazy because I don't think he's ever been on the same level you are. I don't think you even are on the level that you think you are, if we're being very honest. I think this boy is an idea to you, which, you know, fair.
Yeah, Matt is like, so the school year is coming up, and unlike everyone else, I don't have money or superpowers, so I kind of need to pass so that I have prospects for the rest of my life. And this is when Rebecca's like, I can just like compel you into any college you want. It's like, well, no, I want to pass the right way. So she's like, fine, I'll be your study buddy, even though Caroline already offered to do that. No, Caroline offers afterwards. Matt's like, I'm flunking Italian. She's like, I can help you learn Italian. I was fluent in like centuries
14s.
past.
Mhm.
I don't believe there's an Italian teacher in Mystic Falls. This one horse town
I
does
guess
not.
because the Salvatores immigrated. I don't know.
The Salvatore.
They entrenched it in the first high school. I don't know who among the Salvatores was still alive to do that, but you know.
Giuseppe's grandfather.
Sure.
Think anything else super important
There's
happens.
not.
So then we get to our 2-part finale, which is just, I guess the wall to the other side coming down.
Mhm.
A bunch of dead characters popping back in For Rebecca, it's her ex-boyfriend, Alexander,
yes,
who's working with his other fallen Brotherhood of the Five members, Connor and Vaughn. They put Matt onto that booby trap that's going to explode. Rebecca saves him from it. Other than that, I know she snaps Caroline out of Silas's mind control at a certain point.
Yes, she slaps her. She's trying to be super empathetic and sweet about it, and it's not working. She's like, Caroline's like, what the hell, you bitch? And she's like, there's the Caroline I know and loathe. And I'm like, yes. Why hasn't this been the pairing this last 2 seasons? I feel like they could have been such fun frenemies.
The other fun thing that happens is Cole is one of the people who comes back. And when he steps into the scene, Rebecca's like, Cole! And he's like, nah, no need to cry, sister. I already watched you mourn me. It lasted all of 5 minutes. And I was like, literally it did.
It really did. Bless you. He said, listen, I've got revenge plans, love. I'll see you. Bye.
He's fun. He causes a bit more chaos in the finale. He's like, I'm going to kill Elena because I can't find Jeremy.
What does he say? I've been following you from the other side.
Oh, yes.
Like,
so
watching,
creepy.
planning.
He's like, oh, being invisible will drive you insane. If I could tell you all the times I was standing right behind you, whispering in your ear all the ways I hope to kill you and see you suffer. I was like, oh, that's horrible. That is terrifying. He's also sort of leading all the people who've come back. It's the hybrids, it's the sacrificed witches. And I'm like, I don't know why any of you would be on the same side. Well, I'm sure you guys don't want to be dead.
Yeah,
but
that's largely it. They're like, listen, he's the most powerful guy here, and we don't want to be dead. Let's all go back.
Also, Cole, your whole thing was, I'm terrified of Silas bringing back the dead. And as soon as you were dead, you were like, yeah, we need to be back. We need to be resurrected. I love being here.
Specifically afraid of Silas ending of all time. But Silas is already in the world now, so why should I suffer and languish on the other side? If y'all have already brought about the apocalypse, listen.
But yeah, I think that's basically all Cole and Rebecca really do in this finale. Eventually, Klaus shows up to save Caroline, decapitating Asia with the hat.
That's about it. He says that nonsense about how I'll be your last love forever, and it's like, well...
Oh, yes. Tyler Lockwood was your first love. I intend to be your last. And then he says, also, by the way, Tyler has my permission to return to Mystic Falls. That is my graduation gift to you.
Nightmare Man, glad he left. It was getting ridiculous.
Honestly.
God, that really is how they all leave, huh?
That is just, the season just weirdly ends. Like, Klaus comes back to save Caroline one last time, then dips. Elijah is already in New Orleans.
He's been
gone. Wondering why Klaus stepped away.
Right.
And then Rebecca's like, cool, Matt, so you graduated and we know you didn't have money for college, but let's go backpacking in Europe for a while and do fun stuff because I still kind of like you and I want to spoil you with my money.
And then that ends in the first episode of the next season and she's like, all right, well, this has run its course. Go back to town, which you were trying to escape and live your life.
They have a threesome.
Right.
They have a threesome with Nadia.
With Nadia. We don't know she's a Petrova yet.
Bisexuality confirmed? Question mark? We don't know.
Or
it's TV, so when a guy has a threesome with 2 girls, we don't automatically assume anyone there is queer.
And, well, the thing is, when she does move to kiss Nadia, Matt sits back with his hands behind his head and watches, kind of leaning back. So it's clearly for his benefit.
Yeah.
So I can't, unfortunately... It's weirdly, even though this is a textual threesome, I feel more weight in the Sage moment than I do with this, you know?
The Sage moment?
Yeah.
Well, that's how low the bar is. But I guess that's where we leave it. Rebecca leaves at the beginning of season 5. She leaves the Vampire Diaries before she technically makes the decision to move to New Orleans.
Yes.
Because that show, something else draws her there. So I guess she went off to do something else for a while.
For a little bit. Just find yourself, backpack for yourself, girl. Eat, pray, love it. Reset your inner energy, find your celestial light, and then go back to your bum-ass family.
And then to end on a truly terrible note, Klaus hears through the grapevine that Catherine Pierce is finally about to bite it in season 5. He comes back to gloat, and Caroline meets him first and is like, no, Klaus, don't do that. Be the better man. Leave her alone. And he's like, okay, if we bang it out just one time for the Caroline shippers, just throw them this bone, I will leave Catherine alone. And I'll leave town forever and you'll never have to see me again. And Caroline's like, you promise? And he's like, yes. And then they have sex in the woods and nobody cheered.
So actually, I didn't see any of that. I don't remember that in the season. I don't remember season 5 too well, but I just don't seem to remember that happening.
Caroline shippers, I've tried to be as fair with you as possible, but even you can't pretend that this was what you wanted.
Yes, they can. You know they can't pretend.
The thing is, I don't think they do, which is horrible because I think the writers did this stupid thing to satisfy them, and I don't think they were satisfied. They will spend the rest of Klaus's time on the originals hating Cammy for being what they perceive to be
that pisses me
a
off
replacement.
too, because it's like, personally, I also don't think Cammy and Klaus have any romantic chemistry, but I like Cammy as a character and I wanted her to have her own shit beyond Klaus, which is why, spoilers for the originals, when she becomes a vampire in season 3, I was like, finally, she's out of this. She has the dark objects, she's a vampire, let her do some shit. And then she just kind of danced around for a bit, threatening everybody with the dark objects for no reason whatsoever, and being pivotal to the plot about 1%. And then she died. And I was like, so this was a waste of a really cool character who, to be fair, was in some part a kind of Caroline replacement. But I didn't dislike her because of that. And it pisses me off that it's like, oh, because we couldn't get Caroline, we've got to hate whoever the so-called replacements were afterwards. It's like, Caroline wasn't a thing.
The other blonde girl whose name starts with a C.
Right.
And as for those of us who hated Caroline from the get-go, seeing her end her relationship with Tyler so that she can finally hook up with Klaus without being a cheater, and then that being the nail in the coffin for any semblance of care and fondness between her and Tyler post-breakup is just so stupid and insulting and pointless.
Baffling.
It's pointless. Because it goes nowhere and it means nothing. It serves only to further drive a wedge between Caroline and Tyler in the Vampire Diaries, and it impacts Klaus in no way, shape, or form when he gets back to New Orleans in his own show.
I don't know. I just, to dates, am always seeing like TikTok, because I get served Vampire Diaries TikTok so often, and I'll be in the comments seeing Klaus and Caroline. Caroline should have been endgame, this, that, and the other thing. So I'm just like, there are still a bunch of people to date who are like, that was the OTP. These were the ones who should have ended up together. They were my favorite pair. And I'm like, I understand to a certain extent. It's like, you can ship whoever you want. Like, I'm not going to hold you. But to think that, like, genuinely within the text of the show, that should have worked out feels insane to me. I challenge whoever jumped in because they saw the originals and you haven't listened to the rest of this podcast. If this is your first experience of us, we always say, go back and watch this show. Maybe the last time you watched this show was 10 years ago. No, actually 10 years ago is when it ended. Was 15 years ago when you were much younger. And if you saw it now, you might have a different opinion. I say, go back and rewatch it, see how you feel, and then come back. And if you still feel the same way, hey, write in, because I'm so curious to know how it works for you.
There's a thing that Klaus says at some point in season 4. I think he's speaking to Stefan about, is it Stefan or is it Damon? Let me just quickly scroll and find it, because I think I don't think they were intending this, but it kind of relates to the spin-off, sure. Interestingly enough. Oh gosh, it stems from a Caroline conversation. God.
Fine.
Okay, well, he basically blames Damon for all the Cole drama, which wild. And then he asks, how is it that Elena manages to overlook every horrific thing you've ever done? Is it willful ignorance or something more pathological?
Yeah.
Yet another point for Klaus being on Team Stelena. And Damon says, well, some people are just more capable of forgiveness. And Klaus is like, no, but it must be more than just a sire bond. Are you compelling her, manipulating Elena? Like, what is it? Like, what is it you say to her? And he's earnest. And then Damon's like, oh, you're thinking about the whole Caroline thing. Okay, let me guess. You murdered Carol Lockwood. And you know Caroline is unlikely to ever forgive you for that. And Klaus is like, no, Damon, you've done worse. And Damon's like, well, that's debatable. But the thing about me, Klaus, is that I don't mind being the bad guy. Because it's a role that someone in the Mystic Falls gang has to fill in order to get things done. You, on the other hand, you do bad things for no reason. And Klaus is like, that's also debatable. And Damon says, if you're going to be bad with a purpose. Otherwise, you're just not worth forgiving. And that's essentially who the Mikaelsons are in the spin-off.
Yeah.
They're bad, but
with a purpose. to protect each other, to maintain order and peace for the quarter. That's fair. I think debatable on Damon and his perception and view of himself, but to be fair, season 5 hasn't happened yet, so maybe in his mind that holds true now. But retroactively, that's some nonsense, and you know it, you son of a bitch. But yeah, the idea of Klaus being like, let's compare notes on how to get these girls, I hate it so much.
Maybe the most aware of reality that he's been ever, because he's like, Damon, you suck as well. You're horrible and abusive. You've done things to directly hurt Elena, and yet she's still in love with you. How do you do it, man? Like guy to guy, just tell me. And the funny thing is, people will paint this Caroline ship as being alluring because it's like, Klaus is a monster, but isn't it so sexy how Caroline's the one person he's nice to? He'd burn the world for her. She's the only person he wouldn't do it to. And I'm like, no, she's been directly
so many times. Oh,
he's
God.
threatened to kill her. He's tried to kill her.
He has had her get a werewolf bite twice, once by his own teeth. He has maimed her with a giant lampstand. He's so mean to her when she doesn't give him the time of day. I don't get
when he sees her grappling with, the reality that she's killed people, something that she finds heinous, he's like, yeah, well, you dissed me early in the day, so you can sit with that and cry on your own shoulder, because I'm not going to be here for you. And it's like, what? This is your fighter?
God.
Is it because he hasn't killed her? Is that the only thing?
I guess that's the only line that can be drawn.
He didn't kill her, so it's true love.
I have to move off this topic or I'm going to lose my mind.
It's fine. Denouement. For the Mikaelsons.
I mean, I've said all I can say about Klaus for this season. Elijah, barely in it. Love to see you, buddy. I think Daniel Gillies at this point was in like one of these doctor procedurals, so that might be why he doesn't appear as frequently as the others. I seem to remember him in Scrubs in a picture on Twitter around this time, so. Rebecca.
We've spoken about our sweet Rebecca. She rises from the ashes of her reputation in this show and comes back almost completely remade in the originals. Once she steps away from this toxic, high school obsessed town, she is much better for it. She's in a major city, one of the most famous multicultural places in America.
Exciting.
Like it's good for her.
Yeah, just to get back to like her sense of honestly going back to New Orleans and finding herself again as she was in the 20s. And I'll be very fair, that show does then also have its own issues with how Rebecca, maybe not the way she's written, but her position in the story. But that's a story for another day. I much prefer her in the spinoff though than in this show. Cole, I mean,
Cole is fun. Like Rebecca, he gets to say some things that I know the naysayers are thinking. Like when he asks Elena, you've killed before? Or are you one of those Mary Sue vampires? And I was like, really? You went onto fanfiction.net and you...
Why does Cole know what a Mary Sue is? That's nonsense.
He's been undagged for a couple of months. He's picked up on stuff. He can play video games.
He's got earphones. Plugged into online culture about fiction. Cole Mikaelson.
He's at the batting cages.
I'm glad he grows a quarter of a brain this season and he starts doing some shrewd schemes. I'm glad that he messes up people's plans. He's a little trickster and it's fun.
It's cute when he has the one scene with Damon and Jeremy because I'm like, they're kind of filling the essence on their team that you fill on yours, where Damon is the wild card and Jeremy's the kid brother. That's what you are to the Mikaelsons.
Interesting.
You're the wild card and the kid brother.
And of course, as we know, Finn doesn't come back, which I would have liked to post Finn when the veil fell. I feel like that was a missed opportunity, but, And
honestly, I assumed watching this season, Finn had found peace with Sage. like once he died, only to find out
In the
no,
spin-off, that's not true.
In the spin-off, that's not true.
And I wouldn't have either if I had been so wronged by my siblings for so long and then also killed in the moment where I was ready to live.
Oh,
I would have a grudge too.
awful. Yeah.
So crazy. That
Imagine
he doesn't come
finally
back. It's
getting
fine.
over your depression and suicidal ideation, only to then be murdered.
Right.
Justice for Finn, man.
Justice for Finn Mikaelson. Yeah, I mean, listen, icons all only slightly overstayed their welcome and headed off into a far more... I don't think it was more popular, but I think it is more critically beloved show.
And honestly, they got while the getting was good.
Yeah. Yo.
The show just truly takes a nosedive after they leave. And I don't think it takes a nosedive because they leave.
No.
So it's a good thing that they left when they did.
So they didn't get taken down with it.
Can you imagine Rebecca getting to meet Nora and Mary Lou?
Oh, imagine them in the same room. Oh, that would be so much fun. Valerie and Elijah speaking would be so fun too. Just the two very, like, even-keeled, droll characters. Just being like, all this drama around me is really starting to take me off.
Honestly, Valerie and Finn, I'm like, maybe...
Yes, emo era, let's go. The emo kids meet. And honestly, none of the other heretics are that important, so it's cool.
Yeah, the boys, unfortunately.
Who can you compare Bo to? Bo is like the inverse of Finn, where it's like you're the least important, but you might be the most likable of the group to everyone. Nobody has a bad thing to say about Bo, you know?
I guess maybe Oscar would have liked to kick it with Cole.
Cole, yes. The party kids, the party boys. And then Malcolm. Maybe Malcolm and Finn, actually. Now that I think about it. Eldest, nobody liked you.
Finn, the dullest.
Malcolm, the mama's boy. Yeah, I guess it's Finn, Malcolm, Elijah, Valerie, Oscar, Cole, Klaus and Rebecca, Mary Louise, and Nora.
Because they're the two catty mean girls.
Exactly.
Klaus is a catty mean girl, it's true.
Right. And that leaves... Oh, wait, it's 5 to 6, that's the thing. I guess Bo and Henrik, which honestly... Fair.
No!
I mean...
Because Henrik doesn't speak.
Yep.
Oh, on that note... That's it for now. If you have any questions or thoughts, I think we've said all we can say, but you can feel free to mail us at animalattackpod@gmail.com or tweet us at animattackpod. That's at ANIM attackpod. You will find our link tree in the bio, which has all of our online stuff.
Oh, real quickly, because I know the next episode we're gonna do may not get the same numbers as this one. So I just want to real quick slip in. I have an audio project coming up soon that I can't say anything about yet. No, when this goes out, it'll be a week before it drops. So I can actually say I have a horror fiction podcast coming up called Call to the Dark.
That's horror fiction, in case you thought you were saying a bad word.
Yes, that's horror, yes. I say horror weirdly, I forgot. So it's a supernatural horror fiction podcast. It's called Call to the Dark. It is largely inspired by Southern African folktales and mythos. It's about a character named Dingani Lutuli, who receives a box from his recently deceased father. And from there, a mystery unfolds. It's told largely through short stories and some epistolary fiction. I've been working on it for about a year, maybe even longer, but the idea has been cooking for a while. So if that's something that sounds interesting or exciting to you, then you can follow Cold Dark Pod on social media. It's just Twitter and Instagram to keep track. It's going to be wherever you can listen to podcasts. If you're listening to this podcast somewhere, Call to the Dark will also be on that platform. So, Call Dark Pod. And yes, 6th of April, first episode drops at 6 p.m. SAST if you're international. But yeah, I'm very excited and I hope you all like it.
Ooh.
Anyway, yeah, it feels weird to promo. Oh, God.
Lean into it.
Yeah. But yeah, that's all I wanted to say.
Cool. I guess that's it from us then. Until next time. Bye.
Cheers.